good news for markets because it means
All right, I have to start right away. I just have to. Okay, just making sure my audio is good. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's always, I'm always doing 10 things at once when I'm doing the show on the road, which I am. I'm in Cleveland. Cleveland does indeed rock, and hello, Cleveland. However, fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know I'm going to get in trouble swearing in the first 30 seconds of my show, and it'll probably get me demonetized just by dropping an F bomb, but seriously, ick. I don't know how else to put it. It's just Alan Free, the guy who coined the phrase rock and roll. They used to have his ashes at the place. They had an urn with his ashes in it. The DJ in Cleveland who coined the phrase rock and roll, and they replaced them with a display of Beyonce's dresses. Now, Beyonce is a fantastic musician, no question. She's she's an icon. She's a one name artist with two names because apparently she has what's her alter ego that everybody says is satanic on the right, Sasha or whatever. That's who gives her stage presence. She just turns into this character that she has on the inside that kind of informs who she's being, and she gave it a name, and so of course that means she eats babies. She's great, but really, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? First of all, I don't know why there isn't an R&B Hall of Fame of measure or rhythm and blues, specifically rhythm and blues, not even just R&Bing it. And I think there should be, if there isn't already, a metal museum. I'm just saying, metal museum. It's going to have to be in Germany or Norway, I suppose. Or the irony that since Metallica is from San Francisco, I think the metal museum should be from there. Now, I started a couple seconds early, and I want people to be joining us, gather in, because okay, sometimes it's so funny it hurts. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, by way of our dear friends at Crooks and Liars, a story that when I came across it, I laughed out loud in a just a genuine bark of air coming out of my face. That where you're just like, it's totally uncontrollable. Where you're just like, it's just a NFW kind of a moment. No fucking way. It's just so good. This is. Before we start, because I know there's some maggots that get settled in, and I want them to appreciate this, because this is really for you, maggots. First of all, congratulations on trending today with the name that I gave you. Secondly, I think this story is for you more than anyone else. This story is the story that you need, because there are only a few things that Trump really ran on. I mean, he was like, I'll get smart people and the best people. Of course, all the people he hired because they were very they came highly recommended. He eventually hated, thought were losers, and kicked them to the curb. And apparently they were all Democrats, but nobody warned him. And he barely knew him, and they got him coffee. Never mind that part. That's soft political promises. That's just bloviating. That's run of the mill politicking. That's what politicians do. They, in some cases they underpromise and overdeliver. But if you want to get elected in today's, especially on the GOP side of things, with a straight up cult status, you can't just talk out of your ass. You have to sing opera, and God knows Trump did that. And what was one of the things he ran on more than any other thing? Chat room, what was it? What was the big one? What was of all the things he was gonna do? What was it? Yes, that's right. He was gonna build a wall, and what else? It wasn't that he was gonna build a border wall. It wasn't just that. Even saying that, I think some people have even toyed with that idea in the background. What was the bit? He was gonna do what? What was he going to do? He was going to build the wall, and there you go. DB came right out of the gate. That was it. He was going to get Mexico to pay for it. Remember? I mean, maggots. I don't know why you guys didn't chime in right away. Anyways, right. Mexico, he's going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it 100%. Who's going to pay for it? And they would yell, Mexico! And just as a small reminder, that never fucking happened. That wall, he added about 47 miles of barrier. The rest of it was all repairs that everyone was expecting. Nothing about it was, again, 47 miles of new stuff. The rest of it was, had always been there. They just turned some chain link fence into some slat fence. That was it. But the big thing he was always promising was that Mexico was going to pay for it. And of course, they never did. That never happened. That never even came close to happening. The Mexican president even said, I'm not going to pay for that fucking wall. Remember that? That was extraordinary. That was, and it was a huge, ridiculous promise that he was mocked for, but he was unflinching in his, we're gonna build a wall, and Mexico is gonna pay for it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I noticed somebody in the chat room mentioned it as it zipped by. He raised their tariffs. No, he did not. He threatened to, allegedly, on cars coming into the United States. Except those are American cars. Made in Mexico or assembled in Mexico. Those aren't Mexican cars. When's the last time you bought a Mexican car? Also, agriculturally, Texas would die on the vine if we ever shut down agricultural trade with Mexico. Period. But this is just beautiful. This one, oh my God, it's fun. Here it comes. Get ready. I feel like Chuck Barris on the Gong Show. Just like when Gene the Dancing Machine came out. I'm just so excited. Here it comes. Wait, get ready. Drum roll, please. Oh my God, this is great. I am. I don't even know. This is just. It just sits there. So, by the way, yet another reason why just the number, like why they've got to talk about Hunter Biden laptop stuff, because good Lord, this. Oh my God. Biden gets Mexico to pay $1.5 billion, ladies and gentlemen. In a joint effort, the United States and Mexico have agreed on new construction projects along the U.S.-Mexico border to help the United States' ability to screen and process migrants. NBC News is reporting the Mexican government has agreed to provide roughly $1.5 billion modernizing ports of entry and enhancing screening process of immigrants trying to cross from Mexico to the United States. Biden said he made a promise to fix and strengthen U.S.-Mexico relations, and that's very evident with this agreement. The agreement came after the president met with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador at the White House on Tuesday. During Trump's presidency, he claimed he would force Mexico to pay to rebuild the entire wall along the border, which obviously never happened. It helps to have a president that doesn't consider Mexicans trying to start a better life as all rapists and murderers. Ah, it's it's so it's so good. What is that ad? Go away. Hold on. Ah, I just this it just it just it, it's so beautiful. It just makes me. It's so good because part of what they're doing is they're paying for security measures leading into the migrant processing centers, which is the digital wall part. Uh, and and by the way, like Kamala Harris flew down to Latin America and said everybody's telling you borders open, borders not open. Our Mayorkas went on, like our border czar came out and said everybody's telling you borders open, borders not open. They said it in English and in Spanish. Border's not open. The only time you'll see somebody on the news saying that the border's open, it's a Republican. The only people who come up here going, I heard the border was open and I would be able to get in, they heard it from a Republican. They heard it from Ted Cruz. They heard it from, any number of, Republicans who go on Fox News and then claim that, that the Biden administration has opened the border. The Mexican government has agreed to provide roughly $1.5 billion towards a host of new construction. Build that wall. Construction projects along the U.S.-Mexico border to strengthen the U.S.'s ability to screen and process migrants, a White House official said Tuesday. The agreement was discussed Tuesday when he came in, and we read that part. Mexico has agreed to pay for a number of projects through a joint multi-year effort along the country's borders, including modernizing ports of entry, enhancing screening process of migrants trying to cross from Mexico to the U.S. The exact details of the new projects are still being worked out, but the official said the new agreement will not result in the building of any kind of wall or border barrier. Literally, Biden got Mexico to pay for not building Trump's wall. I think it's just so good. It's so funny. So that in and of itself, kind of a lovely thing. I just wanted to share that at the beginning. I have other news stories that relate to some of this stuff, but I'd like to start with I think the creepiest of the stories. Hold on one second. I think there's a yeah. If you'll recall, a woman came up to. Let's see if I can pause. Of course. So sorry, that's loud. A man was like being gross to AOC as she was coming into work, saying like just being a sexist pig, and put himself on film. And AOC was like, I was going to clock him, but I needed to go to work, and I didn't want to catch a case. She was saying. But in this case, of course, if you're a disgusting, misogynistic creep who sees being, I guess, gross to Democratic women as sport, yeah, you're going to be a guest on MTG's podcast. Now, in all fairness, normally I post stuff that is sorry, let me stretch this out a little bit. There you go. I'm a little creeped out that she's right over my shoulder. Normally, I would go with clips pulled by MTG, but she has somebody named Red Pill USA Patriots that pulls clips. This guy's name is Alex Stein, and apparently he passed his audition. Apparently, this is all, his dream has come true. She wore the red clam sleeve dress. She was excited to have the dude on, and I'm curious to see what his excuse was. I'm sure. Again, this kind of reminds me of our the weird Tinder date on OAN the other night. Let's check this out. This is a misogynistic creep who is gross for a living, who auditioned to be on MTG's podcast, and this is his. He's on. I guess he's on probation. We'll see how he does.
I had to know what was going on.
Hold on, back up. Burp, burp.
So, of course, I had to know what was going on. And then I found out that it was Alex Stein.
Oh, my God. That's so fun.
Came to town. Alex is a comedian, if you don't know, but I'm sure you know Alex. He's quite popular.
Based on what standard is this guy a comedian?
Among our friends. And, well, welcome to town, Alex.
Wow, Congresswoman Green, it is such an honor to be here. And I just want to start off by saying,
yikes.
listen, in this political sphere, whatever you want to call it, you're one of the people that are America first. And that's why I appreciate
So, like, as comedians go, you're of all the sphere, whatever you call it, you're one of the people that, I'm honestly, I'm fucking drunk right now. I'm so fucking drunk. It's so fun. I had to test back a few because I was nervous.
because
Hold on. Why is my thing triggering my theme? Hold on. It should not. There we go.
we have
That's very strange. All right, here we go.
people that are just selling out our country in order to gain dominance over the globe. And you care
Selling out our country in order to gain dominance over the globe. Boy, that's taking a bunch of conspiracy theories and folding them into a cootie catcher and just picking a number and a color.
America, and that's not racist. That's not bigoted. That's what we should do. We should care about this country. So I just want to thank you from the
bottom of my ass. That's not racist or bigoted. Dude, it's not anything. It doesn't literally make sense.
of my heart. MTG is one of the few good one in the swamp.
One of the few good one in the swamp. She's one of the good one.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. She's in the swamp? I thought Trump had drained the swamp.
That's why I'm here, because our country is a disaster, and the people
Put a pin in that. I have notes.
in charge, they've been screwing it up for far too long. So I got angry, I got mad, and decided to run for Congress, because what we do every day in the real world is amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, it's so sad that the real world lost Marjorie Taylor Greene because right now there's like a dude walking around a gym with his crank out with nothing to do. He's trying to sex guru, and what options do he have? Because the world was so screwed up, she had to be taken out of her perfect life where she does the real work of Americans to go live in the swamp and raise money at a faster clip than anybody in the Republican Party, short of Donald Trump.
Regular people do incredible things every single day, but it's the people here in this town that have all the power and control.
No, they don't.
Book with everyone's hard-earned tax dollars. They're the ones screwing it up. So I love what you
I love what you did. So like the taxpayer pays his money, and then the Congress doesn't even use it right. Like, basically all they have to do is like show up, vote for bills, argue on amendments, try to get the best thing for their constituent, and apparently they can't even use your tax dollars to stop assholes from standing on the stairs with a microphone, interrupting people on their way to do their fucking job.
Now, you guys, if you don't know Alex goes
Yeah, I don't.
and makes a clear and concise point to show exactly who they are. And
Got another segment written by Don Jr.
I have to thank you for that. Thank you. And thank you for coming to Washington, D.C. So
Why is he making a noise? What is that?
concise point to show exactly who they are. And I have to thank you for that. Thank you. And thank you for coming to Washington.
Oh, touch my arm.
in DC. So let's talk about my Democrat colleague, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's from New York, where it's legal to abort babies up until the day of birth, I believe.
You believe wrong. That's fucking lunacy. It is not. There is nowhere in this country where people are having babies and then aborting them once they're out. That doesn't fucking happen. Doesn't happen. Like it, honestly, the last record I can see of it actually happening, besides, I would argue, Mengele's experiments, is in the Old Testament.
Though she's outraged because, they took abortion away
Oh,
completely.
yeah, right. Yeah. See, it's a states' rights. That's what makes me so mad is these people can still get an abortion. But on a serious note, though,
Yeah, seriously, though. I mean, that's what makes me mad, though, is they can still get an abortion. But, all jokes aside, what? He's drunk. I don't know. He's either drunk or he's been denied oxygen, or her perfume acts as a sedative.
off by saying this, AOC, obviously I was teasing her. I called her tamale, and Joe Biden calls them tacos, so somehow that's racist. AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love.
Okay, my favorite big booty Latina. I was fucking joking. I was fucking bro.
AOC, you're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Want to do a little selfie?
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
2 hours later.
These insurrectionists,
Like Antifa?
and that there were actual officers working with this, and we never got to the bottom of that, and we never got any answers about that, and then to this day we're just supposed to pretend that never happened.
What about
I
Antifa?
have no idea what happened to the people on the inside who were very clearly sympathetic with what was going on.
She means MTG.
Opening the doors wide open for that.
But this is a serious note. There's a bodega owner in her neighborhood right now in the Bronx that defended his life, was actually robbed, and stabbed a guy to death, and now he's actually being charged with a crime.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with her congressionally, and even Adams, the mayor, is against it. That's a DA question. She hasn't called for it. That's ridiculous. New York has a duty to retreat rule, that if you have the ability to retreat, you have to. The guy had no duty to retreat. He was literally trapped behind his counter, which is enclosed in glass, when the man attacked him.
Place in New York that has bail reform where people can rub feces on somebody and get out of jail in 24 hours.
I'm surprised you don't have a job there.
It's sad that you can go to jail.
You can rub feces on somebody and be at jail 24 hours. It is, I presume it has to be your own. I think it's mandatory 72 if it's someone else's.
For defending yourself in her own district. And
Thanks,
she
Robert.
doesn't do anything about that bodega owner, but she comes and complains and does makeup tutorials and says, I'm a pervert or I'm sexist. So I'm just...
Yeah, you are. Immaterial to everything else. These aren't, you don't get to both sides of these things, especially when both of you are allegedly Christians. Like, that's a sales point. It's one thing to be one, but it's another thing to sell yourself as one and then do that shit.
Call out the hypocrisy that she doesn't even care about her own constituents.
Wow, I didn't
She doesn't, her constituents.
know that was in her district. You're telling me something I didn't know. So this
Yeah, but it literally could be anything. If he brings up the spherical Earth,
guy that owns the store and he's trying to run his business, and wasn't it a man and a woman?
Well, yeah, I think the woman, I believe, attacked him as well. And so a guy went lunge at him, and he stabbed him to death, his shop owner. And, of course, he got a $500,000 bond. Then they reduced it to $250,000. And the reason why that's a big deal is because, they don't have bail reform. So there's nobody – when somebody gets out of jail, my family were actually in the bail bond business. The reason why it's –
oh, were they? So basically, your industry has your parents' industry has been undermined by this. It's not like a law and order crime issue. We used to make so much money off his stuff. Totally making money. Yeah, I think this is Squee.
And they say, oh,
By the way, that's Bear barking in the background, the dog.
are racist. The bail bondsman is like a third-party police force to make sure these people go to court. In New York, these criminals know
Yeah. I watched Dog, the Bounty Hunter.
that they don't have anybody that's going to be responsible for them showing up to court, so they go there, and that crime begets more crime because they know they're going to get off. So you have people that are literally, the good guys defending their life, defending their, shop, going to jail, can't even afford to get out of jail. But if you rub feces on somebody in that same district, you get out of jail within 24 hours.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't try that. If you're in that district and you're watching the show, I don't recommend doing any kind of fecal experiments on people. I'm going to guess that what he's talking about is a homeless person who was processed at a mental health facility and released because they don't have the capacity to control themselves. That's different. There wasn't a mad turd smearer running around New York stabbing people with frozen turds.
That's
not germane to anything.
absolute lawlessness. So
It's absolute lawlessness. Well, I mean, it's not hygienic. I'll give you that.
talk about racist. I mean, if you're a bail bondsman and you're supposed to be racist,
You are? Is that the qualifications in Georgia? I don't know what the test is like. Yeah.
you are racist. The people running the DC jail here.
Yeah.
The Kathleen Landerkin, the deputy warden that has these people, and she hates white people. She hates white men in particular. AOC doesn't. She's engaged to one.
Yeah.
So clearly she thinks you guys are okay.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. That's
Jesus Christ.
what I heard.
It's funny you say that.
That's what I heard.
Juan Lamont says that white supremacy on CNN is our biggest problem. He's married to a white guy. So it's a lot of projection. But listen, you and I both know that
It's a lot of projection. What? No, if they're married to a white person or their partner is white, that wouldn't be projection. That would be hypocrisy, I suppose, if you were trying to make that point. But you're so fucking dumb. This is honestly, this is like watching one of those things where people try different spices, but they've been, instead of like spicy chicken wings, they've been doing entire bottles of gin, and we're coming in halfway.
Biden's the most popular president in the world. 81 million votes, fair and square, the most perfect election that's ever created here on planet Earth. But those people on January 6th were all patriots, and that's why they're going.
Yeah, they're going to jail for being patriots. All those people on January 6th were patriots. Patriots who, above all else, want to turn our electoral system into a dictatorial criminal enterprise where they just install who they want. And they're monarchical patriots, let's just say. No.
And that's what makes me sad, is that we have a society now. These people, I've had friends that are in legal trouble. These people cared about our country the most, and they're taking it, and they are becoming a domestic.
So is that why he was on the steps? Was he just late for January 6th because he was drunk and slept through it? That's where they ended it. This had to have gone on forever, right? Hang on. This is, yeah. Was he on for the whole goddamn time? No. 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 No.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Okay, that's
she's
the
from
top.
New York, where
That's right.
That you can go to jail just for
Okay.
flag shirt. What the heck?
No,
AOC,
no.
what?
Well, unless you're protesting, for the war,
Ukraine,
of
yeah.
course, national security for Ukraine, but not for America. Now,
What to wear? Let's see. Protesting safely. Don't bring your phone. Don't wear jewelry. Anything. Okay. What to bring? Water for tear gas, snacks, spray bottles, cash change your ID, bandages, earplugs, protest signs. Never forget that. Wear your hair up. You don't have to tell me. Heat-resistant gloves. In case somebody on your own side throws something lit that's about to explode at your feet, and you have to go, Jesus Christ, Gary, what are you doing? emergency contacts. Write down your emergency contacts on your flesh. Goggles and a mask, and nondescript, solid color, layered clothing, covering identifying tattoos. Okay.
Also wants you to wear goggles and mask. That is extremely important because everybody knows that when you're peacefully protesting.
Hold on. I don't know where this was posted, by the way. They're talking about this.
Oh, go burn down these cities. And these politicians, just like AOC,
Right.
she said, oh, go confront Kavanaugh. Yet when she gets confronted, she melts
I don't know that she was the one who did the confront Kavanaugh part, but
down. So it's just, you know.
Well,
secondarily, she didn't melt down. You were being a sexist fuck, and she was reacting to that as a human being. She didn't call the SWAT team on you. She didn't have you run off. She didn't call the Capitol Police and get you arrested. She just called you out.
Well, no, AOC, who you met last night. I mean, let's pull up the graphic that she trains people on how to protest. So let's pull up her graphic and okay, now let's check this out. Now, first,
I don't know where they got this from. I think this is standard, like in general. Like her office didn't craft this.
off, it's about protest
Don't wear contact lenses. Right.
safely.
Don't drink anything you don't want to be arrested with. Drugs.
Okay, now
A turd. I don't know what that is. Anyways, this went on. This is an hour of this shit. Oh, this is where he dressed up as a like competing as a woman and that kind of stuff, making fun of trans athletes. Okay, so that's that dude. Okay, gotcha. All right. Needless to say, the two of them are creepy, but the irony is that he did all this like anti-trans videos, these kind of weird right-wing sketches, and there's like 3 or 4 guys just slightly outside like the Crowder zone that do those kind of sketches and try to get, like noticed effectively by MTG. It didn't work though until he out of the blue confronted AOC and was a complete pig. That was the thing that put him over the top. That was the thing where MTG was like, I gotta meet this guy and have him on. I find that striking. I find that fascinating. Now, I don't know if he's been on her show before. It doesn't seem like he has been. He seems way too excited to finally make it. I'm fairly certain that's what he said in the very beginning, that he hadn't been on before.
he's a comedian, if you don't know, but I'm sure you know Alex. He's quite popular
Sphere, whatever you want to call it.
among our friends. And well, welcome to town, Alex.
Wow, Congresswoman Green, it is such an honor to be here. And I just want to start off by
Yeah, so I'm getting big. He was never there vibes, if I'm not mistaken. So, point being is, he wasn't on her radar as somebody to have on her show until he was simply a pig to AOC. It is. I mean, this is really in keeping with. She likes him for the same reason that he likes, that she likes Trump, which I find fascinating. It's the same characteristics that she finds, exemplary of manhood or something. That's fascinating to me. Now, the next. By the way, you're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm on the road. I'm in Cleveland. I'm trying to do the show as best I can using the limited resources I have in front of me, and I will say, it's an adventure. Next up on of the clips we have is that Mike Lindell came to my 4th hometown, Peaks Mill, Chicago, LA, Vegas, and spoke at this conference, and I have to say, the guy who introduced him, this dude right here, looks like the Q crowd you would expect. And I'm pretty sure he just announced him. This is Mike Lindell speaks at CSPOA. We'll just call it the CSPOS press conference in Las Vegas. This is about their, they're melting down the machines and yada yada. But this guy is still sticking to this nonsense, and I'm gonna tamp this audio down so it's not too hot. I hope. Wish me luck. Holy smokes! But here we go. This is Mike Lindell. This is a clip they posted on Frank's Speech. I have not watched this. This is his press conference. I'm sure it's full of new and exciting information just unveiled that's really going to turn this whole election thing on its head.
Oh, this is like educating.
Whoop, why did it jump ahead like that? Back up.
The man that needs no introduction, Mike Lindell, he's graciously let us
then don't give him one.
Partner with on his network to share this press conference with those who couldn't make it. We want to thank him for that and give him a big shout out.
Who couldn't make it? You mean the people that were too embarrassed to show up? The rats that left the sinking ship a long time ago?
When 2000 Mules came out, believe it
2000 bills?
or not, I watched it, thought it was incredible with Beyond.
It was just awesome. Hold on one second. I gotta make sure the audio is loud enough for you guys. Is it okay?
Compelling evidence beyond probable cause. But I wanted to know what Mike Lindell had to say about it.
Yeah.
So I watched.
Oh boy, do I. I mean, you guys know, my offer, Dinesh, still stands. You chicken shit. Whoops, hold on.
TV and I found out quickly he was on board. Mike, welcome to the stage, and
As opposed to on crack.
welcome to the CSPOA, sir.
The crowds just keep getting bigger and bigger and more serious. And obviously, this is a movement that is becoming a well-oiled machine that came with directions that said, do not add oil. I love you, Harry Anderson. It's a standing ovation in a weird little conference room in Vegas of basically QAnon nuts. Not everybody's getting up, but
Yeah, I'll get my chop taken with you here.
I don't know what he said. It sounded like I may be chopped bacon here with you.
Oh, thank
God bless my pillow. Or I hope he said Mike Pillow, because along with maggot, that's another thing I want to catch on.
Well, thank you all. And when I heard
I'm getting serious vice principal vibes.
about this event, it was about 8 or 9 days ago, and I'm gonna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't help us understand you.
You got a big mouth. What's up? No. So I've got, as you all, I don't know if you all know this, but on Frank's Speech, which we're having a live stream event on August 20th and 21st. This is going to.
Oh, it's now 2 days. I thought, why do I have to, why can't I just do it in 1 day? Why you got, oh God. Knowing I was like, I got to cover this crap. And then he was going to do 1 day. I'm like, all right, I can get back on the saddle for 1 day. And then 2 days now. Oh, son of a bitch. Oh, quit it. I don't know why this jumps. It's so weird. Okay.
So important to our country.
It so is.
Forward forever. This is a historical event. But one of the pieces.
It's a historical event. I mean, it's no Cyberama, but.
That I was missing was I heard about the event down here was the sheriffs. And I'm going to tell you what that is. People ask me all the time. They go, the legislatures have failed us. God's revealed.
What the hell is the dude over in the corner doing? What he's like pointing at something like Get him a mic stand, get him a chair, get a fire extinguisher. Tell him to zip his fly. What's happening?
God's had his hand in all this, and each thing that's been.
Yes, I agree. I think God's had his hand in all this, and he loves me and thinks I'm hilarious and wants me to enjoy this as much as possible. So with his other hand, I guess he's stringing you along to make you look like the biggest asshole you could possibly be, giving you every opportunity to jump ship and try to grow as a human, and you just won't do it.
The bad platform, Suckabuck's platform.
Yeah, never forget. Don't be afraid to, in the first 35 seconds, drop a anti-Semitic reference.
Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, all.
I love that he still hits Vimeo. He got kicked off Vimeo like fucking a year and a half ago. Vimeo. Oh.
Our legislatures just about, in all the states where they were red, you have one of the most evil people in the country, Brad Rassenberger down in Georgia. But you got a blocker in every state. Mm-hmm. It seems like you got your Robin Vosses of Wisconsin, you've got your Rusty Bowers of Arizona, you got your Brad Rassenbergers of Georgia. So you have all these. So people say, well,
it's this annoying recurring problem of people, even though they're on your side, still insisting on doing their job.
Evidence. Where does it end? How much more do we need? We've had enough.
I'll keep it coming, buddy.
Evidence for over a year and a half now.
No, you have not. I've looked at all of it. No, you have not. Not at all. Not even close. Stop it. I don't want to, this is getting to, Rudy Giuliani ridiculousness. It's, you ain't got shit. You don't have shit. At all. How many times? I cover this every time. Every time he does one of these specials, I have, and you guys have seen me, I unflinchingly watch these stupid things, see every piece of evidence he suggests that he has. I look through Rudy Giuliani's affidavits, the few that they would post online, or that other people posted online because they submitted them to legislatures, but not to the court. What is that? Oh, quit it.
Every one of them to be put away forever behind bars and melt down those machines.
The machines are made out of plastic, stupid. I don't know why you're going to melt down plastic machines to make prison bars. You put them in a plastic prison. God, it's so dumb. It's just painfully dumb. Stop it. Why would you, I don't know. Melt down the satellite that they ricochet the votes off and send them to Spain. How about that? It's made out of metal, largely tinfoil. Most of it's very lightweight, but still. Quit it. I don't know why this thing.
So I've all said if we don't get rid of the machines, we lose our country forever, and I mean every word of that. You never ever.
I know you mean it. I just know it doesn't mean anything. You get me?
Ever get it back. You go back. I've talked to the Venezuela Underground many times over
the what? I love that band. You've talked to the Venezuela Underground. Please tell me, when all this is done, Mike Lindell is going to go on the road singing Lee Greenwood songs with it, and his backup band is going to be called the Venezuela Underground. Mike Lindell and the Venezuela Underground. I am so there. I'd like to introduce you guys to the fellas from they're my backup band, and they're most of them learn to play their instruments on the using the internet, which is the only thing it's good for. Give it up for the Venezuela underground, guys. Wake up! Oh shit! Hold on. What is this? I keep hitting the space bar but this video won't do it that way.
Year and a half. I've talked to you. Go to Australia, even go as close as Canada. They're all.
I would love to go to Australia. It sounds great.
The just different stages. Their countries are gone forever, where they never get it back. You know why?
Why?
The people in power that did the selections with the computers and machines, they will never vote them out. They're never going to get rid of them. It's over.
Yeah, Australia. I mean, you think America's ruined. Australia and Canada don't even exist anymore. They, I mean, there's nothing to this. Oh, God.
But what we have is, so how do we get it back? I'll
Please tell us.
tell you what. People always say in the media, and they attack, well, the judges, Mike, they've looked at the evidence, you conspiracy theory, they've looked at the evidence, and all the judges said this. No, only one judge in the United States has ever looked at the evidence. That was Antrim County, Michigan, and he did not rule on it, as you...
Yeah, he was like, I looked at it. You're out of your mind. I'm not even, dude, I don't want to, I don't like you, but I don't want to do you, I don't want to ruin your life. So I'm not going to put this in the record.
No. All the other judges, you go back a year and a half and we can go, well, why didn't they do anything? Well, you know what? I believe it was fear. It was fear-based. You know, everything fear-based. How would you like to have been the first judge? And you got a family. And it's like this, like, hey, you live with a pretty nice family, Judge. You know, and nobody wanted to be first, but...
I suppose that was supposed to be like a mafioso. It's the worst kind of mafia, though. When they threaten everything you have, they don't actually hint at what'll happen. They just compliment you. It's the worst.
You look a year and a half later, and everything has changed. People now, courage is...
I wish it had changed, Mike. I wish a year and a half later it's changed. You're doing the same shit.
Brought more courage. It's contagious. Well, look at the judges. Who would have thought in the middle of all this, we get Roe v. Wade overturned? I mean, it's an incredible miracle, right?
Thank you for the super chats. By the way, you can support the show with super chats. Become a Patreon, patreon.com/HalSparks. Or you can, there's a myriad of other ways. I don't have the Venmo up when I'm traveling on here, so I apologize for that. But, you know, some of you already have it in your phone and you know how to use it. So if you guys can do that. And of course, if you're on Twitch, fire away with the bits and the subs.
Then you look at, you know, you want to know what slowed down.
Jesus Christ, why did the volume keep fluctuating on this lunatic?
Construction of our company, our country.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Little Freudian slip.
Are the judges. Look at the gal in Florida. She got...
The gal. You know, like we got these judges like this broad in Georgia. We got this Louisiana lady.
That judge and said, these masks on airplanes and mandates are nonsense. One decision changed our world forever in that space. Okay? You have all these judges.
Yeah, we had 2 weeks left on the order. She was like, oh, if you got to end it in 2 weeks, I'm going to end it right now.
That have ruled, and even look at the attorney generals when they went after, when the administration did their big election deflection, but this was Afghanistan deflection.
Afghanistan? Thank you so much, Emily. Oh, that's great for being you. Well, thank you for being you, and I appreciate that. Jinx, thank you so much for the super chat.
They do after Afghanistan about 10 days later.
They continued to notice that we were out of Afghanistan. They kept what?
Marketing. They had Biden come up there. If you have 100 people in your company, you got
that
shot. So
what the heck? Quality stuff there, folks. Hold on.
Company, you got to get a shot. So everybody went from Afghanistan and pointed everybody's focuses on that. We're not.
Hold on. Jesus Christ. Like the audio fluctuation on this is nuts.
Not doing that. We're not doing that. And you forgot about this over here.
Yeah. Biden's brilliant at deflecting away from things. I'm sorry. Hunter Biden's fake laptop says what?
That's what this January 6th garbage is. The FBI ruled a year ago that it was a Trump. There was nothing but Trump, his supporters. It was nonsense. Of course.
No, they didn't.
The FBI did it probably to cover their own butts, but this whole thing is election deflection. It's all to bring these machines past this fall and to put it, and then they're over. It's over. Well, I'm telling you that the judges will be bringing back this country. They're ruling right now. There's rulings that come in every state, even slowing the border. You know, even though it's terrible, they've made different rulings that you don't know about. This is like educating. You know, what you don't know.
I don't know what the fuck that was. That was just a bunch of weird shit. I think he's talking about the Title 42 ruling that the SCOTUS did that took away that they ruled in Biden's favor that they don't have to keep using Title 42 if they don't want to. I think.
About the media blocks, we know that. It's block after block after block. I've used the left-wing media. In fact, I asked Sheriff Mack, where's the bad media? I want them here. They're the only ones that let me get the word out.
What?
You know, I told them all.
Yep.
In Colorado, on the steps of Colorado, I said, I apologize to all you guys. I've used you guys for over a year and a half. I don't need you anymore. We have frank speech. Sorry, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I can't flip through my channels without a frank speech ad or actually seeing it. He bought up every other channel on DirecTV. There's just no getting past it.
And
that's why you've gone from giant Trump stadium shows to shitty little boardrooms or conference rooms. Just like Trump. You guys are doing great. Keep at it.
But there was a piece about 10 days ago.
Fuck me. Is it just me or is the audio like just spiking like crazy?
Oh, and then, okay, then we'll go to 2,000 meals.
Oh, yeah. Please jump forward. Skip to the end. Man and wife.
So 2,000 meals come up. And
Yes, I'm aware.
I'm going to say, you guys know a significant day in history was February 4th of 2021. That was the day before I came out with absolute proof.
Yeah, that was the day I was already turgid. Wait, why is that play stupid?
It was also 5 days before the impeachment trials. Strategically, a company called Smartmatic sues Fox News on February 4th.
Strategically, yes. Strategically, after Fox News and a bunch of these assholes started bad-mouthing them and ruining their entire business with lies. So they strategically, in line with the Illuminati.
That right away changed my life forever, and anyone that's ever went on TV, you could not go on Fox News, you could not go on Newsmax.
Well, that's not fair. You could go on, you just couldn't go on and blather bullshit and libel someone. I mean, you can't really anyways, but it's just hard to prove. But they had set a standard for what it meant to libel these companies simply because those companies had already like stacked up a bunch of examples and said, if they keep this up, we're suing you for $1 billion and we're gonna get it. And the judge was like, yeah, they're gonna get it. And they were like, okay, we'll knock it off because we have no truth. There's no truth to this. We have no evidence to back it up. But this dickhead's just going through with it.
Conservative media, including Salem Media.
Salem Media. Pfft. Don't get me started on Vimeo.
Everybody was shut out. Nobody's been able to go on those and talk about machines or election crime since that day. Now.
Well, I mean, not without laughing.
Then along comes 2,000 meals, and everyone's going, okay, they're...
It's not... I don't want anybody to get confused. It's not 2,000 meals. It sounds like he said 2,000 meals. It's not. It's Mules, just to help.
Doing that because they got sued. I say, who cares if you got sued? You're already sued. Your evidence should be put out the evidence. That is your way to get out of your stupid lawsuits. And,
No, it isn't. You're still going through the lawsuit, stupid. You're not getting out of it because you're releasing stuff.
So here comes 2,000 meals, everybody.
Yes, and they all... And Dinesh D'Souza is waiting there.
Well, that is what? Government cameras showing felonies getting committed.
No, that's not what happens at all.
And you're going, well, where's Sean Hannity? Where are...
That's a good question. I think he's vaping. Kim, thank you so much.
These people, isn't that news? They could not put it on Fox or Newsmax. 2,000 meals. Shame on them.
2,000 meals. I mean, I love me a good Minnesota accent, but
they're disgusting. They're ruining.
God damn, it's like, modulate, dude. I keep turning the audio down and it's still like awful.
Our country by not talking. And so they showed their true colors by not showing. It wasn't about the machines on Fox and Newsmax.
No.
Otherwise, they would show 2,000 meals. They would have Dinesh on there.
Yeah, they would show 2,000 meals and 500 snacks. He does know that Fox has not aired any of Dinesh D'Souza's movies.
And the True to Vote on there and saying, hey, look what happened. This is real.
No, it isn't.
Instead, what do we get? Bill Barr on there tripling down, the most corrupt, rotten person this country's ever seen.
All right. Well, going back to the first Bush presidency, where he was the one who talked Bush into filing using I think executive privilege to hide his diaries from the Reagan era, basically, which kept all the Iran-Contra guys from being busted because it was basically his diary was the final evidence. And Barr was like, yeah, we'll work up a situation where you don't have to show that. And that piece of evidence removed, these guys are in the clear, and then so are you. That's early Bill Barr. Back, the dude behind the concept of the supreme executive power, the executive office of the presidency.
He's going, oh, there's those cell phone pings. You can walk by. I lost mine in a field in Arizona or in South Dakota. I called my IT. I went down within an inch in a field this high, this deep, out in the middle, and pulled my phone up twice.
What? Wait a minute. I want to see that story. What happened? Wait. No. You cannot drop a story about how you lost your phone in a field twice and your IT guy helped you track it to that point and not explain what were you doing out there? And is the cow okay?
Within an inch in a field this high, this deep, out in the middle, and pulled my phone up twice.
What? Again, if the grass is that high, it's not like he was there for a Trump rally. Obviously, the grass was cut on that part. What? Wait a minute. What did you pull out in a field? I'm confused. What's happening? You can't just run by that story. That's what I want to hear. I want an 11-minute clip where you tell the story about how you lost your phone in a field twice. And I want an interview with his IT guy, like speaking like he's with his face blacked out, using a voice modulator, going,
yeah, he called about 11:30, and at that point, honest to God, I was getting kind of tired of it. But his check clears, so we keep doing it. Anyways, he's screaming into his phone. I'm trying to point him in the right direction. I can't hear him over the goats bleeding.
So, but when
again, no, you can't breeze by that and like I'm supposed to understand what the fuck. What?
But about 10 days ago, I'm out
in a field, grass up to here, with a goat and your phone. You're taking pictures. Your hands are obviously slippery from some sort of gel lubricant.
I'm in Colorado.
Ima's in Colorado. Ima, if you don't know, Ima's his great aunt, twice removed.
And I'm talking to some people there, and they told me about this event and what the sheriffs could do, what the power they had. And I'm going, thank you, God, because I always look for these plug-in pieces. God brings me stuff. It's divine appointments.
No, he doesn't. You are responsible for your actions. You interact with certain people, they're going to lead you astray, dum-dum. There's like this kind of divine, like, I'm just following the light of this whole thing and it's magically laid out a path before me. No, you have an addiction coded mind. Why am I even arguing with this dude? He's just going to end up in a field
bringing
again.
me these things that we have to have. So now,
what are they going to bring? What are they bringing you? Your phone?
You got the sheriffs, all the sheriffs that didn't, a lot of them don't know they had power. I didn't know it.
Yeah, sheriffs have no idea they have power. They're notoriously like, what can I do about it, guys?
I'm going, oh, this is perfect. Because we have a plan going from the ground up and from the top down. But
yeah, and they come in from the sides, and it's like a pincer move. It's like Tenet, but for idiots.
the sheriffs now can do this, but they need
I know Tenet was for idiots.
one other thing, as you see in Wisconsin with the Racine County Sheriff, where they get press charges pressed, but if the judges don't rule, but they're gonna this time around.
I'm not back again. You're breezing by a lot of details, Mike.
You have it's like the perfect marriage. You have sheriffs out there doing knowing what they can do,
and you at home cooking, cleaning. It's the perfect marriage. Really, you're a stay-at-home pillow guy, and
and we put these people in prison, and they start rolling on each other.
Yeah. Now you're talking about the January 6th committee, actually.
It's like the mafia. You start here and they start rolling on each other.
Yeah, that's the way it works. You start, what they take you out to the field and you find where the body is buried.
And that's where
under your phone.
We're at. That's why this event is so important.
It is.
And I thank you, Sheriff Mack, for having this, and I thank you for inviting me. And God bless you all. And I will say this. This will
sit back down. He's not done.
You guys, you need to enjoy where we're at. We're in the greatest revival in history for Jesus Christ ever. People are pouring over. They're pouring over.
They're pouring over. I think that's the open border you guys have been clamoring about. It's a rolling orgy in the field. They're pouring over each other in a field. I couldn't find my phone for all the love goo.
And the one last thing is.
Oh, I see. Jesus. So when you save the best for last, that ain't Jesus. Okay, gotcha.
And one last thing is, just think where we would be. I want to give you a little message of hope here. I know I'm well over a little bit.
Yeah. Mike, wrap it up. We said we would give you 10 minutes. You're the only person here who's gotten a standing ovation. Everyone here is a lunatic just like you. But we lose the ballroom at 8:30. Or we have to pay the staff a union bump, and we're not about to do that, okay? Thank you, Bonnie.
Where would we be if
in a field, obviously, looking for your phone? I mean, that's clear.
I said the 2020 election will go down as the most important election in history.
Well, I agree. Making Donald Trump a one-term president was hilarious and a joy.
And it's the aftermath, what has happened, everything we have learned. What if we'd have went to bed that night and they hadn't broke the algorithms? We would have all thought, oh, man, Biden won. The count would have been done by 3. And we'd have all sat here not knowing that we'd have went, oh, this country went liberal. They brainwashed our kids.
That's what we would have thought.
Knowing that maybe that's 2% or 3% of our country. What's happening now is 40% of Democrats know this election was stolen.
Nonsense. I love how, by the way, since that statistic, which is insane, has come out, he's added 10 points to it. It used to be 30.
They had to go through this.
I think occasionally he's also said half. So
get their eyes opened up. And that's where we're at. So thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Mike. Tremendous. Thank you.
Tremendous.
Wherever you want. You can sit on the stage right there.
Yeah, sit on the stage. Sit down, rest yourself. Obviously, you must be exhausted from being out in the middle of the field looking for your phone covered in lube. They posted that. That's from Frank's speech, ladies and gentlemen. That's from this isn't even Frank Clips. This is from Lindell TV. And apparently this was a gathering that was already happening, and somebody in Oklahoma or wherever he was, thank you, Jinx, just went, you got to come to this. And he was like, okay. I will be covering that. Now, I have a show on the 20th of of August, a Nerd Halen show. And then the next day I have a show on the 21st in Dallas. I think that's what it is. It's like that, or the 19th and the 20th, and the 19th I have a show. And what? Anyways, it's that weekend. So more than likely what I'll do is either in my free time before the other shows, on the days where I'm just in my hotel room, I will set my stuff up and we will chip away at that horse shit. I don't think it's a full day. I think they're they're going to tape 3 hours of it or something. God, I hope so. If he just runs it, if he even pretends to do like another live through the night thing, which he didn't do, by the way. He was there for 3 hours out of the 9, and then they just re-aired it overnight, and he came back part of the next day after he'd been assaulted with a tangerine. We'll eventually make it. You're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide, by the way, and I think that the show's taste and breeding on your part. You're a good person, and I insist. Speaking of 2,000 Mules, The Mess is back, and there's a story going on about about Biden sending oil to China, and it shows that he's corrupt. Now, and this one's titled, "How the Oil Biden Sent to China Directly Benefited the Biden Crime Family." There it is. See that? There's the title. Now, I don't have to tell you guys that's a reach. However, I will say that the 950,000 barrels of oil from the Strategic Reserve were part of 5 million barrels that were sold on the open market. They have to be, because of the rules, purchased on the open market by anybody who will pay the highest price. Because if you're going to release oil from the Strategic Reserve, especially to foreign buyers, they have to pay the most for it. That's how you get it. It's basically like an auction. And unless they're paying top dollar, they don't get it. And in the case of 950,000 barrels of this, the Chinese paid the most. They were willing to pay top dollar for that part of it. Okay? Just so you know. That's how it works. It's not even close to weird. It's, again, the perfunctory part of selling oil out of the strategic reserves to lower the international price, just to boost, along with a bunch of other countries that they had coordinated with, the amount of oil that was coming out of the reserve, 50 million barrels over a period of time, in 5 million barrel increments. And in one of them, China bought 950,000 barrels. That's it. Yeah, 2,000 meals has made me hungry again as well. So I want to hear the basis for this, not only how the law of the United States, which enforces the purchase of oil from whoever will pay the most for it, somehow was planned and executed by Biden to somehow benefit him financially, while his son no longer is involved in any way in even the businesses that did have the deals with China, even when they were just investment deals that if they made a profit, they got 10% of the profit or whatever it was. And when we're part of the AUKUS agreement, and Japan's about to join that agreement, let's see how it benefits the Biden crime family. Also, it won't come as any surprise to anybody who regularly watches my show that I have 很多的中国的朋友. I've got a lot of Chinese friends. 他们都住在台湾. They all live in Taiwan for the most part. Although I do have a bunch of friends in mainland China. My best friends that I know the most are in Taiwan. And 我会说中文. 我去了北京很多次. So I've been to Beijing and Shanghai, Tianjin, Xinjiang, Chengdu, Hong Kong, Shanghai. I've been there, half a dozen times over the years. It's, multiple trips to the same big cities and then some small side cities. And This fucko knows nothing about China. Nothing. Not a thing. Nothing. And when people talk about the whole China eating our lunch deal and that they're going to be the Ray Dalio idiots, and one of these days soon I'm going to have to do a Ray Dalio video. He's an economist who has a lot of investments in China. He's very bullish on them. He has a hedge fund that favors China very much. So basically he just goes on all these like CNBC and Market Watch shows and Fox Business and talks and mostly podcasts now because he's turned out to be wrong so many times. They don't have him on anymore. And tries to talk up China to boost his hedge fund that has a shit ton of investments over there that are collapsing. So it's the same story. It's just stupid. But I'm curious. How is oil sold on the open market to the highest 4/5 of which was sold to a bunch of other countries, but or like 3 other countries, but 1/5 of it was sold, less than 1/5 was sold to China, and that goes right into Biden's pocket. I'm curious, and it's 950,000 barrels. Let's hear it.
There is
oh God,
some commentary on social media about Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden.
Yeah, she's a doctor, I refer to her as Dr. Jill Biden almost as much as I refer to you as felon Dinesh D'Souza.
Comparing Hispanics to tacos.
Chico!
I think it was breakfast burritos was the thing she was making. Was making a food reference to the difference between the foods that you have, but everybody's, you guys are like these foods and we're like these foods, and yet they're complementary, that kind of stuff. It was a ham-handed analogy, but obviously
Debbie's reacting here.
Oh, is she? I couldn't tell.
Just call me Taco.
Just call me Taco.
Taco salad these days.
Taco salads these days. Well, that's because Dinesh gives her shit about her weight all the time.
The funny thing about this whole nonsense is that yes, Mexicans do eat tacos.
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
But Venezuelans don't.
Okay. No. Debbie, citation needed. So Debbie won't eat a taco? She doesn't eat tacos? You mean as a national dish? So you're saying it's wrong to assume the dietary intake of a particular group of people while assuming the dietary intake of a bunch of people. Okay, gotcha.
There are no tacos in Venezuela.
There are no tacos in Venezuela. Okay, good to know. So I won't get my hopes up.
Burritos or enchiladas for that matter.
No burritos, no enchiladas. They don't serve Mexican food in Venezuela. It's war, basically.
Jill Biden doesn't know any of this.
Okay.
And this is the way that the left sort of looks at minorities.
They do, yeah. Uh-huh. They look at them as delicious. Basically, it's like a dog looking at you and seeing a pork chop.
They're cartoon characters and some...
Yeah. No, Jill Biden's a dog in an old Warner Brothers cartoon, and when she sees Debbie, she sees a sweaty pork chop.
Sombreros and playing mariachi music and eating a taco and voting Democratic.
Yeah, I mean, those are all culturally in line. Sure, I don't see. Obviously, this is true of Democrats. Should we go through all the descriptions of migrants from the right, including they're rapists, they're murderers, and some of them, I assume, are good people?
But the bigger story here is not...
Oh, that's okay. All right, I thought that was the big story. I was confused.
And it's not even Hunter Biden. I mean, there's this new...
Oh, it's definitely not Hunter Biden.
Leak that's come out. Have you been seeing this stuff? Naked pictures of Hunter Biden.
I saw that.
Well, she's seen him. Yeah, of course she's seen him, Dinesh. She saw him before you did. She's got a Google alert on her phone.
You showed me yesterday. That was hilarious.
I think you showed me yesterday. So you're showing your wife naked pictures of Hunter Biden. Okay, great. Okay. From 6 years ago? Yeah?
Oh, yeah, this Hunter, I showed Debbie.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I mean, after you've been married for a while, it's hard to spice things up.
Tell me a thing where a younger Joe Biden is talking about how dangerous it is to have cocaine, and simultaneously on the other side of the meme, you can see Hunter Biden lighting up.
Yeah, it is dangerous. He was, at that point, fearing for his own son. His son became an addict. He's not for it. He wasn't, if he was hypocritical, he would be saying that and then lighting up with his son or encouraging him to do it. None of which he did. You're a fucking lunatic.
There's a separate video of him and a hooker, and they're weighing the coke, and they're...
No, they're not. That's an edit. I stand by that call. There's one shot of him looking up like this, and then there's a shot of the thing, and there's an edit. I don't buy it. Sorry.
Arguing about what the weight is. She says it's 2.6, he says it's 2.7. They're arguing about this.
They're not arguing about this. You hear them discussing numbers.
So
He's the smartest man.
He's the smartest man Joe Biden has ever met. Yeah.
Well, for the record, he was right about the measurement, and she was wrong. I'm just saying. I'm not picking sides here.
The very guy who calls Joe Biden's wife all kinds of names.
Yeah.
Well, he's smart. He knows what he's talking about.
That woman deserves it.
Now,
by the way, Dinesh, you're sniffing a lot. I'm just saying. Should I read anything into that?
what I was thinking about is this whole Biden family is straight out of Goodfellas.
Nobody goes to jail, Karen. The whole Biden family is straight out of Goodfellas. Oh, you mean the criminality that's spoken about in the media about them is fictional?
Right, honey? Think about it.
Yeah.
You got the corrupt and perverted mafia boss at the top.
Yes.
That's
Senile,
Joe Biden.
senile.
Little senile. You
Corrupt and perverted. Explain.
all the crooked siblings who are all part of the La Familia.
No, you don't. Bo was an AG and a good man by all measures. His daughter has no problems whatsoever. Hunter had an addiction, and he had a lot of money from the job that he had, and that led him astray in the exact same way, by the way, that Mike Lindell did. If you'll recall, many people believe that Mike Pillow was an addict who got his shit together and then started My Pillow. That's not true. He started My Pillow, got a lot of money, and then started doing massive amounts of drugs and almost capsized the company, and then got himself clean. Because the drug users he was hanging out with were like, if you go down, where are we going to get our food, money, and stuff from? We basically live off you, dude. So they made him get help.
They're all being recruited.
He tells the story.
You've got the nasty scheming wives, including Jill Biden.
The nasty scheming wives. Is there a tape of Jill Biden saying fuck Christmas that I'm not aware of?
You've got the coke-sniffing, sexually depraved offspring, and then...
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's not Joe Biden's fault that he only has one son like that. I mean, Trump has a couple of two sons like that, but yeah, you know, this isn't a competition, Dinesh.
Just hookers everywhere, just like in Goodfellas.
Well, not everywhere, obviously. Hotels, maybe his home. He's and just like Goodfellas. No, you don't. Everybody know. You of all people, you were in jail. You had to have at least spoke to a couple of people.
So the whole scene is laid out.
The whole scene is laid out. That we're halfway through this video, and I still don't know how Chinese oil has benefited Joe Biden's criminal family.
But it's the corruption with the public purse that is probably the most distressing part of it.
The corruption with the public purse. Okay, now we're getting to it. Very excited. Let's hear it.
And there's a remarkable report. It's now in multiple sources, but you're not seeing it in the mainstream media. This is why you can't get...
Multiple sources. Okay, so there's multiple sources. Name one.
News anymore. You can't
Please read or put it up on screen.
expect to get news if you just...
Yeah, you can't get news from Fox News. They won't even have Dinesh on to talk about 2,000 meals.
at ABC,
Which is what it's named now because of Mike Pillow.
CBS, NBC, New York Times, a lot of stuff going on you're not going to find out about. So
yeah, that's true, but that's more of a bandwidth issue.
Latest is that although Biden said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna help people with gas prices at the pump. How am I going to do that? I'm going to release oil from the strategic reserve." What little did we know that 5 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserve were released and sent overseas.
Yeah, they were sold on the open market. They were bought by overseas buyers. Some of it was to alleviate the pressure on Europe, but they can't direct it all at Europe. They can't legally say, we're selling this, but we're only selling it to NATO allies, for example. That's illegal. That would be considered manipulation of foreign governments. And though Trump wouldn't give a fuck, and this guy wouldn't know that, you can't do it. You could arguably tip them off. You could make sure that they know what date and what time ahead of time when you have face-to-face meetings. They're still being competition because as soon as it goes on sale, everybody knows, and everybody's going to trigger it. And most of the time, it's bought with at certain price points with bots at this point. But still.
So where'd they go?
Where'd they go?
That oil went to India.
I hope you, of all people, Dinesh, aren't going to claim that Biden is in bed with India and India is somehow corrupt and a danger to America.
Went to the Netherlands.
The Netherlands, now you're talking. Or like, as I like to call them, the nether regions. All right, I don't care.
And very interestingly, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, a good chunk of it, about 1 million barrels, went to China.
950,000 barrels.
Now,
I already told you that. I know it's not about 1 million. It's 950,000 barrels.
Why would Biden do that?
He didn't do that. The question was if they offered the most for it and he sold it to somebody else, the question for the taxpayer would be, why didn't he do that?
Ostensibly, the reason he's doing it is he's trying to help these other countries deal with the sanctions of not buying Russian oil.
No, this was about lowering the price of oil overall. So you're getting more oil into the market. This was not gifts directly to them. That's the natural gas part, dum-dum.
He's trying to say to India, listen, you don't need to buy Russian oil. We will sell you oil from the strategic reserve. But the Indians don't care. They're still buying Russian oil. And the Chinese are still buying Russian oil. The Chinese, in fact, are close in. They're buddies with Russia. In fact,
yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
as you know, Putin went over to China before all this started, basically to get the green light for the invasion of Ukraine. So
yeah, that's not why he went.
Manifest,
and they're not backing him. That's part of the problem with Kazakhstan. We talked about this before. Like we have to retread this bullshit every time.
Stupidity of this should be obvious for all to see.
All right, well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. It's obvious. Maybe it's the simplest thing for anybody to understand. Maybe it's just that you're terrible at explaining it, Dinesh. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're just too stupid to deliver the message. Maybe the message is pure. Maybe the reality is there. Maybe the crime is happening, but you are literally the worst witness ever. And maybe if you try shutting up because you're obviously not helping the crime be discovered, you're confusing the issue.
It's not just about stupidity.
Well, it couldn't possibly be.
Because, as it turns out, there is a kind of corrupt economic motive.
A kind of corrupt economic motive. Let's hear it. Now, Biden has no control over who buys this, but let's hear it.
The 1 million barrels from the strategic reserve that went to China,
950,000,
went to a Chinese state-controlled giant.
Yes, the company that bought them, by the way, is a Houston-based, Texas, a Houston-based Chinese-owned oil company that has its offices in Texas. I wonder who in the government from Texas could have tipped them off that this sale was coming and what the price point might be.
That is connected with Hunter Biden, and which is to say is connected with the Biden crime family.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this is Unipec, UNIPEC. Unipec, by the way, continues to buy Russian oil, so they're not being deterred. The point of selling them this oil is not being achieved from a foreign policy objective. However, naive that objective.
By the way, the seller in this situation has zero control over the buyer.
But
they, except for, I suppose, they can deny certain people the ability to buy it. Like, I suppose, Iran. I mean, you can't sell to certain countries, like North Korea. That would be a better example. You can't sell to North Korea. So if North Korea had a shell company or was buying stuff through a shell company or whatever, and they discovered it, those people would be in trouble.
Hunter Biden is apparently a investor in Sinopec, a kind of cousin of Unipec.
Yeah, kind of cousin.
So let's see. We have Hunter.
Yes, explain it. We've got we're at 5 minutes in. You have a minute, Dinesh. Thrall us with your acumen.
Biden's firm, a private equity firm that was co-founded by Hunter Biden, buys a $1.7 billion stake in Sinopec Marketing. And Sinopec, by the way, has also bought Russian oil assets. So you basically got this.
One moment, please. Let's see. Whoops. Why is that not working? Oh, because I misspelled it. There you go. So this is, let's see if I can find where they got this from. Let's see. Okay, so this is the Free Beacon. This is what he's referring. Let me see if I'll just go to the grass leak. Well, I can do both. Hold on. This is, here, I'll show you. Whoop. This is I think the Washington Free Beacon. These are the same people that are going to, and awake. I'm floating in it. Okay, there he is. How Chinese companies linked to Hunter Biden could bail out Putin. This is a source for this. Hunter Biden is linked to 2 Chinese state oil companies, to buy stakes in a Russian energy firm that's been sanctioned over Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Sinopec and China National Petroleum Corporation are in discussions with Beijing to invest in Russian gas giant Gazprom. It's, by the way, not happening. Bloomberg reported Tuesday Biden has done business with both firms, which hope to take advantage of deep discounts in the company's shares in order to shore up their energy and commodity stockpiles. He may still hold an indirect investment. In Sinopec. The connections highlight longstanding concerns that Biden's foreign entanglements help America's adversaries. Biden met in 2011 with the executive from China National Petroleum Corporation to discuss the potential purchase of an oil field in Africa. The Washington Free Beacon reported Biden met with the executive after he was told that the company had helped Iran, Sudan, and others evade U.S. sanctions. Biden is connected to Sinopec through BHR Partners, a private equity firm he co-founded in 2013. BHR bought a $1.7 billion stake in Sinopec Marketing in 2015. Biden at one point owned a 10% stake in BHR. Owned a 10% stake in BHR Partners through his wholly owned firm, Scaniatels LLC. A lawyer for Biden told the New York Times in December that Biden no longer holds a stake in BHR or Scaniatels, but the Washington Examiner reported this week that Chinese business records still list Biden's firm as a BHR shareholder. And Washington, D.C. records still show Biden as the firm's owner, which doesn't operate anymore. The Examiner noted the Chinese database may not have been updated to remove it. Biden's attorney did not respond to a request for clarification from the Free Beacon. They'd already given you an answer. The Biden administration sanctioned Gazprom, blah, blah, blah. Beijing's also weighed a stake in Rusal. Biden has worked on several other deals that would help China meet its energy goals. CEFC paid Biden at least $6 million to invest corporate energy. That fell apart in 14 months because in the alleged emails from the alleged laptop, from the alleged hard drive that it was allegedly purchased, there's a story within it where he's like, yeah, I can only do this if it's an American company. And they're like, well, it's not an American company. And he's like, well, then fuck you. So doesn't have a stake in BHR, doesn't have a stake in his old company that had the stake in the first place.
No Russian alliance, but the Biden family has a monetary stake in it.
No, they don't.
And so you have...
No, they don't. Again, you have all this screen space. I can put it up on screen. That's the Washington Free Beacon story. If anybody is going to push the most egregious form of this narrative and sell it harder than any other source that you'll find regularly besides some like Reddit thread, it's going to be the Washington Free Beacon. They're the ones that hired Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele to go after Donald Trump until he looked like he was going to win, and then they decided to back him.
Double motive here. On the one hand, Biden is supposedly trying to deter the Chinese from being so close to Russia.
This is not part of that. This is just sales on the open market to lower the overall global price of oil. We're doing it in coordination with a lot of other countries.
But he's also funneling money to a Chinese entity.
No, he is not. He has no control over who purchased that oil. None. It is wholly unlawful for them to deny these companies the ability to buy this stuff. They bought it because they paid the highest price for it.
That is connected to his own family. So again, under normal circumstances, this would be widely discussed in the media.
No, it wouldn't. This is a very normal circumstance.
The conflict of interest issue would be front and center.
There is none.
Seeing no reporting on this in any of the mainstream media outlets. The reason is quite simply that they are protecting their Goodfellas guy.
No. The reason is because the law states that the stuff goes on sale, and in the real world, outside of the internet, and in the world of like just commodities exchanges, everybody who actually is involved in that kind of business knows that's how it operates, and that they have the White House would have zero control over it. In the same way that we technically never buy Russian oil. The U.S. doesn't buy Russian oil and put it in the strategic oil reserves. We don't. Companies in the United States that like Exxon and Chevron and stuff have bought Russian oil, sell gas in other countries, but they don't buy it, bring it here, and pump it into American cars. These are multinational corporations. Ugh. Okay, he ends up, this is a 6-minute video, and it takes like the last minute of it is him just laying these thoughts out, and then just like it's like he just takes a crap in your living room and then walks out and goes, your living room is a toilet now. That's the depth of the argument. Thanks, The Mess. Glad you could be here. Now, I want to, let's see. There's so much. Okay, we haven't, I feel like this would be like the hypocrisy report, this next one. By the way, you're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. I put these clips up, and I don't pick them out. I don't, take a slice of a show and say, this is what I think is important. They put these slices up. These clips are exactly as they're cut from the show. So somebody at each of these shows or on these podcasts or whatever, they take this chunk and they go, this is the chunk worth watching. This sums up my argument. And so I answer those things because that is their decision-making process. And when it comes to somebody like Hannity, this is probably one of his most ironic takes ever. And there's a lot of them, so that's saying much. But will Biden discuss Jamal Khashoggi's death with Saudis? Let's be abundantly clear. During the Trump administration, Hannity like a lot of other Republicans, and even I think Jesse Waters even did a segment on his show about it today or yesterday, arguing that I don't care what happened to Jamal Khashoggi if it gives us $10 a barrel oil. Like, they can kill all the people we want. We just want the cheap oil. And anybody who, who doesn't buy into it, anybody who doesn't, isn't for it, is an enemy of the people, because America's more important than Jamal Khashoggi. Now, Biden says he spoke up about it and about human rights, and this is going to be something that they're going to be on the lookout for consistently. This will be necessary to the ongoing relationship with the United States. Now, what MBS and other countries are going to be looking at is how the electorate is favoring Joe Biden. And in these cases in particular, because the news media is all aflutter with how unpopular Joe is, and how Democrats, specifically your more far left-leaning Democrats, are very mouthy about the fact that they're going to leave him stranded at the altar on the midterms when he's not even running. They're going to let their complaints about him, or their complaints about Joe Manchin, who's also not up for re-election, they're going to use that as an excuse to not vote for the Democrat in their district, in their town, and in their state, which is lunacy. It's also gross. It's silly. But the MBSs of the world, they look at that and they're like, yeah, I don't know how much I have to worry about the standard this guy's going to uphold. Now, that, again, or whether he can fight me on any of the stuff I'm going to do later. However, the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia, they've been working on it a bunch. Blinken's been talking to their team. This has been an ongoing thing. And for the first time ever, I guess maybe before, early days or something, and there might have been one moment, but insofar as I know, the first time ever, Israeli flights can fly over and directly to Saudi Arabia. And that's a direct response to negotiations with the White House. And the schools and the imams have started toning down this. The textbooks have removed references to Jews being awful or animals or that kind of stuff over the last couple of years. And the imams are muting their attacks on Israel. They're hoping that another take will eventually establish a Palestinian state, because the hardliner status has not helped, and MBS is trying to rebuild the image of Saudi Arabia, all the while, also being absolutely involved in Khashoggi's death. Now, again, the United States, including Donald Trump, used to, have these relationships with, the Saudis, when they would go and they'd get this necklace. There was whole back and forth about Trump, blathering on about how Obama bowed to the Saudi king, and then Trump goes and does it too, and then defending Putin, who recently had like 6 Jamal Khashoggis, like was just dusting off people. They were falling out of windows. They were getting Novichok sprayed in their face. One of them was shot in a park in Berlin, and yet. Yeah, and yet when Trump does it, it's a sign that, look, we got to have a good relationship with these places. And everybody's like, yeah, totally.
All right, so...
Oh, my God, it's loud. Hold on. Back off.
Joe Biden's disastrous trip through the Middle East is continuing, and as he prepares to meet with the Saudi crown prince and the
Count bin Salman.
Coming days to beg for oil and get them to sign off on his idiotic Iranian deal.
Why would they do that? That's not what Israel is the one you have to get to sign off on the Iran deal. Saudi Arabia doesn't want that. Saudi Arabia wants Iran to fall. There's going to be a Saudi-Iran fight, proxy war. Effectively, you can argue that to some degree, some of the backing and not backing of the Palestinians in fluctuation between Saudi Arabia and Iran, when they're allegedly both on the side of the Palestinians, the fluctuation in support actually is in many ways their own proxy. But the Iranians and the Saudis are enemies. And if you're more than likely in the power struggle of the Middle East, whether you're on one of their sides, you are accidentally, on purpose, going to be supporting one of their sides. You got to pick one. And the one you're going to pick, more than likely, is not the one that's trying to get a nuke to fight back against Israel because they think it should be wiped off the face of the earth. You're going to be against the one who's got a problem with how they treat the Palestinians and their own internal problems and their own royal struggle, because any country with a functioning royal family is a fucking mess as far as I'm concerned. But which one of those two? Again, that's a true lesser of two evils. And in this circumstance, you don't get to not make a choice. You have to be engaged. So if you have to be engaged, choose less evil.
The White House has been silent. They won't say whether or not Joe will address the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Which is not true. And he did.
And the multitude of other human rights atrocities that occur in Saudi Arabia. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Hold on one second. There was something atrocious that happened in Saudi Arabia a while back. Well, let's see. Let's see if I can take this guy. Give me 1 second. Hold on. And I'll share the thing. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to do it this way. Give me 1 second. I have to bring this up. I just want to, forgive me. There's some stuff I think are, fascinating that, maybe we want to, let's see. Yeah, I think it was, see if I can find the actual, yeah, here it is. Is it going to play an ad? Nope. Well, my name is Donald Trump and I'm here to sway. I can't dance, but I do it anyway. I'm gonna wave a sword around like a dumbass clown. I'm gonna cut off your robe and bring it down. All right, wacka wacka, a wacka wacka, a boing, wacka wacka. Big Donald Trump. And I can't, sorry, I hit your dick with my sword.
Beautiful. That was so beautiful. Heavy.
This is the war dance.
I can see that.
Yeah, adorable. Hey, look who it is. It's that's Wilbur right there. Wilbur. Yeah, I'm that's a safety hazard. I'm sorry. You do not handle a sword to Wilbur Ross. I got a bird to walk it wow. Bank ball to and then of course there was a what else? While we're talking about here it is. Let's see. This is so weird. Back up. This business was probably the weirdest thing I like about the whole trip to Saudi Arabia, where they went down to they touched this weird globe. Is this creepy, just like supervillain bullshit? Remember that nonsense? For the Church of Satan. For clarification, this is not a satanic ritual. John Doolittle, big deal. Some guys put their hands on a glowing orb. It's not like we're going to get superpowers. And my God, this is how Space Jam started. I photoshopped Sergeant into Trump's orb. Saruman into Trump's orb picture, and it's not even weird. Illuminati confirmed. I mean, this. Remember how, like, just put this in context of Biden not shaking hands and fist bumping MBS and calling it a day. I want to see the golden child. I totally do. Absolutely. But Sean's really concerned, guys. He's really, this is,
blamed all of this, the murder, on the Saudi crown prince before promising during the 2020 campaign to make the country a, quote, pariah nation. And here's your chance, Joe. You going to follow through, or is this just another one of those endless broken promises?
By the way, Sean Hannity is for this.
Khashoggi's widow broke her silence in an emotional interview with our very own Bill Hemmer earlier today. Take a look.
If you could be there, what would you tell MBS?
She'd call him a murderer.
I will tell him you will regret if he knows the truth about Jamal. And anyone involved in his crime, they will regret.
Now, instead of committing to discussing the murder with the Saudi crown prince,
he did.
Joe had this to say.
Thanks, Carl.
I always bring up human rights. I always bring up human rights. But my position on Khashoggi has been so clear. If anyone doesn't understand it in Saudi Arabia or anywhere else, then they haven't been around for a while.
So, Joe, you going to hold them accountable for the murder of Khashoggi or not? Are you there to beg for oil or not? What about their treatment of gays and lesbians? So what about their treatment of women?
Yeah, what about that? What about that? Hold on. Let's see. Saudi bows. Yeah. How about this? Yeah, there you go. Trump called. Hold on, I gotta grab the YouTube video, otherwise they'll. Let's see. Well, this is Obama's Saudi bow, the worst scandal in American history.
Obama's controversial bow.
Dun dun dun. Okay, and then of course, what Tini did. Let's see. Yeah, here you go. Oh, look at that. Lowers his head. There we go. And he didn't bow, by the way, for the record. Let's be clear, okay? Come on. Trump did not bow to the king of Saudi Arabia. He curtsied. I would like you to watch that again. Watch him. He puts it on, and then he does a little curtsy. Watch. Bends over. Watch this. Dwink. There it is. No, that was a curtsy. He curtsied.
I guess it depends on your perspective. From our perspective,
what the hell is going on in Arizona? ArizonaCentral.com, the Arizona Republic. This is actually the thing. And what is that dude wearing? He looks like he's going as Jeff Goldblum on a bender for Halloween. Nope. Get back through here, silly. I don't know why that's the clip. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. Trump appears to curtsy. Did Trump curtsy to this? Yes, he did. Take your time, The Independent. I mean, it's loading an ad. Never mind. I'm backing out. Let's see. Yeah, here's another one. This is
There's one thing.
There you go. Look, our friends when they used to give a shit. Bowing out. Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to find the clean video of it. There's CNN doing a 1:03, but because everybody had a take on this when it happened. Oh, yeah. Saudi, Russia quietly bow to Trump oil demand. by me going sorry, but he must not bow. He didn't. President Trump tripped. Yeah, here's C-SPAN. Okay, good. This is the uninterrupted stuff, hopefully. Give me a second. What in the world? Oh, quit it. This is an ad, which is adorable. Okay. This is him talking to him. Then they hang out. Then they're sitting at the thing. Then they do the thing. And they have tea in this giant room, and they're all sitting together. And then they hang out. There's Jared. You got that extra $1 billion for me, right? Oh yes. And oh look, it's Steve fucking Bannon. Look who's there. Look at that. Look right there. Look at that is. Did you see that? There's Ivanka, Trump, and they're chit-chatting. She's translating. He farted, because you can always tell, because he grabs his lapel. Then all the tea guys leave. Then they do some chit-chat, and back and forth, and some people are watching them chit-chat, and then there's more chit-chat, and he says something, and then Trump kind of pretends to listen, and then they go through this whole thing, and then they all give speeches, and then they come up, bang, and then he comes over there, and here it is, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. He puts it over there, and he lowers his head, and then he goes, beep, look at that, there he goes. Yep, that was it. There he goes. Just one more time, shall we? Doink. I mean, come on. Come on. It's just like the fact that he does this little oops, I forgot because I'm supposed to. Now, can I wear this casually, like with golf clothes, or is this only a formal medal? Does this mean I'm king now, or am I like a knight? I'm a knight, aren't I? Great, and they give you, do I have to sign this and hold it up? Hey, thanks, that's nice, that's good, and I'll wear that. And what does it say? Lovely, okay. An honorary degree from Asshole University. That's hilarious. I can't read the writing, but somebody else will tell me what it says. Thanks, I'll take care of that. Yeah, we got to go put that in a shredder. And then they go through this whole thing. There. Oh, by the way, there's Hope. That was Hope Hicks. There she is, right there. See that? And then they go in and they walk through the thing with the group. Come on, guys, it's so fun. And then we have a big meeting. And then they all sat down there, and this was a big negotiation. This, by the way, this is what they all look like for real, but they didn't put on this giant show because for Biden for a lot of these things because he doesn't need it. Look, there's Steve Bannon again. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Bannon. Now, this is before he was ditched. He was removed from this situation. But you can start to understand why Steve Bannon thought he actually had a purpose. And they go through this thing. And then they're like, this is great. Look at this. We'll walk through here. And then this is where they do the sword dance. And like, look at this. This is hilarious. Look at these guys. I love this. Oh, it's fun. And then they give him a sword later. Like, wait, I stand right here. Oh, thank you. It is. How does this go? He's doing the same, that waddle. Oh, God, that's even more embarrassing than the clip they released. Jesus Christ. It's like dancing with the Spurgs. Oh, God. It was fun dancing with you. You're no Jeffrey Epstein, but you'll do. And then they go in this place, and I guess they don't show the whole globe thing that goes in there. But I just wanted to bring you up to date. While Sean Hannity gave zero fucks about this stuff.
Some people are put to death, punished in a number of gruesome ways, in some cases just for being gay. And what about their oppressive laws?
In some places, just for being gay, outside of the realm of the Saudi royal family and the outer areas. where they don't have control over that stuff, and it's awful, and it's very different from them trying to be a moderating society while still being under Sharia law.
Against women, weren't even allowed to drive until 2018, or...
Yes, because Trump went over there and bowed. It was because Trump curtsied. They're like, oh, he's a woman. I didn't realize. I suppose we have to let them drive.
In their own passport until 2019, and it's not just Saudi Arabia, Biden.
So in 2018, they started driving. Now they can get their own passports. Now they're able to have businesses, and now they're normalizing with American, their relationship with America, because that's what we should be doing to reward them for a behavior that's moving in this direction.
He's doing business with. He's doubling down on this idiocy of reviving the Iranian.
What is that? Do you and Dinesh have the same connection, Sean?
Nuclear deal. Now, Iran's the world #1 state sponsor of terror. They boast of similar oppressive laws against women, gay people, including the death penalty.
You sound jealous, Sean.
Gay, ask yourself, where are all the radical human rights activists, all the woke people in America that are Democrats? How come they're not upset that Joe is doing business with these countries?
We're not doing business with them. We're trying to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon by having a moderating approach with an extreme regime that is absolutely capable of creating a nuclear weapon. Because we would rather the people who are hateful towards gays and women and other stuff to not have a nuclear weapon so they can carry out that hate of gays and women on people from all the way across the ocean just by sending a nuke. That would be preferable. We're not going to instigate their policies here, but we would like those policies to not be, instigated over here through a nuke.
Here with reaction, human rights attorney, executive director of the Lawfare Project, Brooke Goldstein, and Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Tammy, in a way, I guess, you know, I'm the one standing up for human rights. I always have.
You always have.
I would want nothing to do with any of these countries.
With any of these countries. Whew. Give me 1 second. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess this is the primary fight for area. It's loud. Beg your pardon. Hold on.
Why this isn't about politics. As evil as this kingdom is, as I have said over the years, the president is right. Saudi Arabia has now emerged at an important point in history as a partner in the Middle East. Let me explain this. And
yeah, please do.
Brings us to a quick Hannity history lesson.
Oh, good. A Hannity history lesson. This is a double whammy. This is great. So let me guess. Are we going back all the way to like the Abraham Lincoln was a Republican and Democrats started slavery, and that's why John Wilkes Booth had a point?
As a country, we have to make a lot of tough, very, very difficult strategic.
Yeah, it's tough. We got to make some strategic decisions, okay?
Strategic decisions.
Yeah.
Not like putting millions in your pocket like, oh, the Clintons.
Yeah. That's not a strategic thing. That's just financial.
And deal with a lot of immoral and even in some cases evil international partners. I'll give you.
Yeah, sometimes we have to do that. Yeah, wouldn't you say? Hold on 1 second. Let me put this was one more. We were back. Where was it? It was this guy. Nope, not that idiot. There we go. Can we back up on this?
I don't want.
Let me see. Back up.
Oppressive laws against women, gay people, including the death penalty if you're gay. Ask yourself, where are all the radical human rights activists, all the woke people in America that are Democrats? How come they're not upset that Joe is doing business with these countries? One quick example, World War II, and a lot of tough, very, very difficult strategic decisions. Not like putting millions in your pocket like, oh, the Clintons. And deal with a lot of immoral and even in some cases evil international partners. I'll give you one quick example. World War II. We struck alliances with Stalin, a mass murderer in Russia, the former Soviet Union. That evil dictator would even go on to murder more people than Adolf Hitler. But the survival of America and Europe was in jeopardy. And during the Cold War, we partnered with...
By the way, just for the record, at no point during the Trump presidency was the survival of America under peril from anything other than COVID and Trump's kind of generically shitty policies, none of which were helped by a deal with the Saudis in particular. As a matter of fact, the only deal Trump made with the Saudis was to get them to stop producing so much oil and guarantee not to do it for years.
Dozens of brutal dictators to violently squash the spread of the evils of communism. And now Saudi Arabia, similarly, a horrible regime.
Horrible. Wait, was that it? Okay. Oh, there's a trailer for this?
Really can't teach you to dance, but it can help you make a great impression for free. As you type Grammarly in.
Okay, sorry. That's the only piece of it that they had in this. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, here's and that's the fact check. There's a lot of Trump Defense trying not to abandon Saudi. Here it is. Newsweek. Sean Hannity. This is going to be another ad based thing. Let me turn this off.
I absolutely hated pricking my fingers.
You get these calluses and these sores.
Pick a finger, you know. Which one you gonna hurt today?
Once I was able to use Dexcom, I could simply monitor on my phone, and I didn't have to prick.
I'm not relying on a finger stick.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez makes a very convenient target. What do you want it to be, Gandhi? You wanted to go begging with a wooden bowl and getting some rice and living in poverty? They love her in the Bronx. My 3 grandchildren live in her district. I went to college in her district. She may have the most far-fetched ideas that are totally implausible or impractical, but she has heart, Sean. She's a sincere person.
My parents can.
Hold on, where was the? That wasn't what I was promised with this video. Hold on. That's tied into that. Trump joins Hannity for exclusive reaction to the DNC. Yeah, it's not gonna have it in there. Anyways, you guys saw the Hannity defense of Trump saying this.
Here with reaction, human rights attorney, executive director of the Lawfare Project, Brooke Goldstein, and Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Tammy, in a way, I guess, I'm the one standing up for human rights. I always have. I would want nothing to do with any of these countries.
Just remember the clip I just showed you in that context. Fuck this dude.
I don't want their money. I don't want their oil.
Bullshit. Hold on. That's not the only. Let me see. I'm going to go to here. Let's see if I can find him. This is Fox News. I haven't seen this clip, but this is fun. Just for the context for Sean.
Asking the question, why not? What's the thinking behind this idea of not further punishing the Saudi kingdom for its alleged role, perhaps, in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi? Well, the White House, you heard, in fact, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo say just yesterday, quote, "It's a mean, nasty world out there." And so the thinking for the White House is, look, in that environment, you have to make some pretty tough choices. And in this case, it would appear they're making the choice, in fact, manifestly so, to stick with these Saudis. Let me take you to Twitter. A very interesting tweet as the president begins to very subtly.
Oil prices getting lower. Great. like a big tax cut for America and the world. Enjoy. $54 was just $82. Thank you to Saudi Arabia, but let's go lower.
Or perhaps not so subtly, show his support for the Saudi kingdom. He said this: oil prices getting lower. Great. Like a big tax cut for America and the world. Enjoy. $54 was just $82. Thank you to Saudi Arabia, but let's go lower.
By the way, specifically after that, in 2019, that's exactly what happened. They started upping their production. So did Russia. They got into a game of chicken, and it collapsed the price. So he got his wish.
Now
and it fucked the entire
gas
thing.
prices and oil movement comes amid the growing consensus that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman may have orchestrated Khashoggi's murder. Now, that's something he denies.
And again, the idea that they're having this much of a conversation about the Saudi royal prince and Putin, we know he murders people. He has them murdered. We know he's killed people himself from his old job. Like literally his body count compared to MBS is a order of magnitude. And they're relatively open about it. But Trump the entire time is defending, look, you got to deal with these guys, and I find them to be great, and I defend them every turn or whatever. But this thing, look at all the wailing and gnashing of teeth on Fox News. And this really has more to do with sort of the racial component than anything else. Because 1-to-1, Putin is far more guilty of this kind of shit than MBS is wanton disregard for human life, just grotesque, and not even before the Ukraine invasion. The Saudi prince, as bad as he is, and as bad as the murder of Jamal Khashoggi was, didn't top it off by doing 9 other people and then invading another country and just strafe bombing it. Even their war with the Houthis, they're in a ceasefire right now. They actually managed to negotiate a ceasefire currently with the U.S. and the UN working together. That's not even in the ballpark, and yet Trump's like, look, we got to hang out, I've met Putin, he's a sweet guy.
President, despite analysis from the intel community, isn't ready to cast blame.
They didn't make a determination. And it's just like I said, I think it was maybe he did, maybe he didn't. They did not make that assessment. The CIA has looked at it, they've studied it a lot, they have nothing definitive. And the fact is, maybe he did, maybe he...
The fact is, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Fuck. That asshole used to be the president.
But on Capitol Hill, there's been very strong disagreement over the administration's unwillingness to harshly criticize the Saudis. You may have read Bob Corker's tweet. He said, I never thought I'd see the day a White House would moonlight as a public relations firm for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and again, the Biden White House isn't doing that. They're dealing with a reality, which allegedly, according to the video we watched of Sean Hannity, they're for. They support. All right, so anyways, back to this nonsense. Let's see what their take is on it, because that's only a third of the video.
They're hostile regimes that have atrocious human rights.
Atrocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
They do, and you laid it out perfectly.
He did. He really did. I mean, years ago when he covered Trump's ass.
Many have noted that the changes, the small changes when it comes to women's rights in the kingdom, were really made for a PR effect, that it is still very difficult in the kingdom. In Saudi Arabia...
a PR effect. Well, that PR effect is directly affecting the women's lives in Saudi Arabia. You think it's a PR effect because you want other stuff, or he wants other stuff, or you want to use it as a cudgel. I mean, this is just from the Fox News zone of like, we're not even sure women deserve these rights here.
Homosexuality is dictated by the criminal code, which is dictated by Sharia law. And we've recent executions of homosexuals there as well. I mean, it is
not just for being homosexual, but we'll get to that later.
It's horrendous, and it's a protected environment in that they want to show something outside to foreign countries.
Right. And we should encourage that over time, because the choice is encouragement towards being modernizing and moving away from that shit. That should be rewarded by involvement. And if they're lying about it, then it cuts it off.
While it is still repressive and horribly so internally.
Oh my God. What are we talking about? Texas? We talking about like Ohio abortion laws at this point?
But this is more of a story with what you outlined regarding Joe Biden. With Biden, everything is transactional.
Oh my God. Now they're just like taking MSNBC scripts about Trump and just cutting the words out and swapping them.
I believe that he meant that about Khashoggi, but now
everything is transactional.
Look at what he's willing to
That's 2011, by the way.
Do in order to keep America
before the murder.
He is willing to go.
Notice how they're using this footage. That's so odd.
To a place that is known to be a horrific abuser of human rights because his priority
is the American people and gas prices and oil prices and the economy and a genuine move towards like moving Russia out of the equation entirely.
To keep his own country as weak as possible.
What? He didn't go over there and tell him to lower. Trump's the one who went over there and told him to cut production.
That speaks to the nature of Joe Biden.
Honest to God, I'm not even quite sure what she means.
In a way that I think should shock the conscience of everyone watching this program, no matter who you are. We believe in human rights because we're America.
No one at Fox should show her that clip I just played of Hannity when Trump went over there and curtsied.
Perfect, but when we talk about it, when we learn about it, when we care about it, it's because we mean it. With Joe Biden and the Democrats and perhaps the establishment in general.
The establishment in general, anything that's established, you know. Any restaurant you go by that says established in 1987 or something, fuck that place.
This is transactional. He now wants something from Saudi Arabia.
Right. He wants them to knock off the human rights abuses and raise oil production currently to countermand the Russian oil that is being taken out of the system. This isn't even difficult.
Venezuela, even Russia, China, because it suits his purpose of keeping America in trouble. And that is where we're at right now.
How? How does that keep, quote, America in trouble? Never mind the fact that the Venezuela stuff isn't us buying oil from them. It's getting them to raise their output. And not even normalizing relationships with the country, just saying we won't blockade some things. And again, China, everybody's getting out of there at an incredible clip.
It's a horrible place, and he's now going to stand next to this horrible dynamic in Saudi Arabia because it suits him.
Because it suits him.
Brooke, where are all the woke leftists in this country? Where are all the liberal activists, human rights activists in this country? Because their silence is deafening, and Joe is only doing it to appease the climate alarmist religious cult.
How would that work? If he's only doing that it's to get them to produce more oil. This is just so weird. This is so weird.
Believes it's okay to import oil but not produce it domestically.
No. We're producing it. We have a refining capacity problem in the United States, but the world has an oil production problem. The idea is to get oil down to $80 a barrel. That's their target point. And the only way you're going to do that is to reinstitute the 5 million barrels a day that was removed by getting Russia out of the system and then increasing it by, 8% or something over time.
You know, you're
so right about, not about what you're saying now, but what you said years ago that you're now contradicting.
Right. We are faced now with the situation where the President of the United States has to embarrass himself because of his own policies. He had to do a 180-degree turn where he used to be calling Saudi Arabia a pariah state, saying, quote, they have to pay the price for being bad. And now he's going over there begging for oil.
All right. the turnaround on making Saudi Arabia a pariah state, in essence, I agree that was a point he was making on the campaign trail, because at no point was MBS over almost 2 years ago now moving in this direction. They had let women drive and they were the passport thing, but overall they had not normalized relationships with Israel, and they were certainly not talking about the ability for planes to fly over or through or land directly or having direct communications with Israel about stuff. That is a wholly new change in the last year and a half. They've been eking towards it, but it took a giant leap forward in the last year and change. And that in and of itself would be reason to kind of soften your language with them and your relationship with them. But again, the hypocrisy of this circumstance, which is, making a distinction between something you said on the campaign trail that was very important about a very, specific aspect, which is the leader of the country, not the country itself, but the leader of its country engaged in something this awful while trying to deal with whatever the future of that country is and your country's relationship with that country, is very distinctly different when you're in a debate talking about the importance of this, which I think is very important, and the changing structure over time. This is another situation where people act like the calendar has no days in it, that we are all frozen in whatever point you want to seize on, and ignoring every other point where Trump was literally weeks after it happened. He's like, I don't know.
Because it is his administration that refuses to make America energy independent.
We are energy independent. We still are.
And it's this dual-faced, two-faced, hypocritical nature diplomacy that really,
Oh, you mean like making fun of Obama for bowing and then going over there and curtsying?
Pervades what's happening in the Middle East. On the one hand, you have our ally Israel. He's over there signing Jerusalem declarations, declaring that we're going to do everything we can to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon.
Yes, and part of that involves, wait for it, Saudi Arabia.
And then at the same time, turning around, pushing for the Iran deal.
How do you have the patience for these idiots? Because I don't take them seriously. I don't let any of their words land on my heart because they're idiots. And I actually think that there's a value in not taking them seriously, by not letting them have a grip on you. And if I can impart anything to you guys, it should be the ability to shrug off some of this garbage.
Reinstating $200 million worth of funding for the Palestinian Authority and for Hamas, a terrorist group in Gaza.
No, not for the terrorist group, but we're trying to, meeting with Israel, making, building up the relationship with Israel while reinstating the funds that Trump had taken away from the Palestinians that they need for medical supplies and food, while they're basically, in a walled-in encampment.
Allowing the Pay for Slave program to continue, where American taxpayer dollars are going to pay terrorists who murder often Americans as well who are in Israel.
No, not often. And no, feeding children who may be radicalized by the circumstance that they're in later in life, who might grow up to kill someone because they are in an occupied territory, is not like you should have just let that child starve, is not in any way a moral stance.
So the hypocrisy.
We should have just let these people die of septic wounds, lest one of them pick up a rifle and shoot the wrong person. Thank you, Emily. Oh my gosh. Please tell the sparklers that they rock. Yes, they do indeed. I adore you guys. Thank you so much for the Venmo.
Is why we are losing face on a daily basis in the Middle East. And
we're not losing face on a daily basis in the Middle East. The Iranians are now taking us more seriously. The Saudis have done a ceasefire with the Yemenis, with the Houthi rebels in Yemen, specifically because of our and the UN's interaction together to get them to there. He's signing something with Israel. Look at this thing. Together. Look at the artwork. Does this look like they're like, fuck, Biden's coming over. Let's just put him in front of a blue wall. They made a whole graphic and put it up. Like, look at the bond between America and Israel. They're co-signing stuff. There's an American flag on the table, you dummy. This just happened.
I think it's really important to add one thing.
please add something. Criminy.
There is such an outrage over what
You're running out of time. You're getting the walk-off music.
happened with Khashoggi, and it's absolutely terrible. But where is the outrage when American citizens are killed by Palestinian terrorists and the Biden administration does absolutely nothing, continues to allow American taxpayer dollars to fund this?
What do you mean, great point? Name one. Who are these like rando Americans that are being killed in Israel all of a sudden? And is she just bringing this up? Because I'm sure it's happened at some point, because this shit's been going on forever. It's a grinding civil war. But is she only bringing this up so she doesn't have to bring up the Al Jazeera reporter that was shot by an Israeli soldier? Is that what that is?
Our administration.
Brooke, thank you.
Brooke, for what? I'm seriously, this is Fox News. I mean, first of all, it's interesting to see them basically newsmaxing these days. This is the quality of dissection of an idea you would see like on the cutting room floor of the Greg Kelly show. The essence of, by the way, there's a reason why Sean Hannity brought on two women for this as well, because he was hoping to make this point that women are mistreated in Saudi Arabia, and therefore Biden doing business with them or dealing with them in any way or trying to get them to produce more oil while respecting human rights and having this meeting with them because they are a serious player on the world stage. And they have, or at least had, $1 trillion in our stock market. It's probably down by 20% minimum right now because they started, after Trump left, they started eking money out for their own problems because of COVID, but also because it's one of their manipulation factors to let everybody know they're serious. So the idea somehow like that Hannity, the entire time Trump was in office, backed his relationship with Kim Jong-un. Like, all right, I know I'm dragging on this and I'm over time, but let's see. We'll go to let's see.
But tonight,
hold on. But tonight,
we begin right here in Vietnam.
He's in Vietnam.
Tomorrow, President Trump will kick off a series of historic meetings with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
A disgusting man who starves his own people, who has concubines, who lives a life of wealth and privilege while his people literally starve, who orders the deaths of his own relatives to maintain power, who murders his own security detail if he doesn't trust them, a man who's by all standards on earth a relic of the 19th, if not the 18th, if not the 13th century.
Both leaders arrived yesterday. President Force on Air Force One and
President Force on Air Force One.
Jong-un via a 60-hour train ride. Somebody buy this guy a plane. I guess maybe it was in the shop getting repaired.
No, he doesn't fly because he thinks he's going to be shot out of the ground or out of the air.
2 years ago, remember the hate Trump media mob told you, we the people, the president, oh, he's leading us to nuclear annihilation in response to what? North Korea, their hostilities, rockets being flown over Japan, threatening Guam, threatening the continental U.S. Trump deployed multiple aircraft carrier strike groups in the region. He nicknamed Kim Jong-un Little Rocket Man.
Peace through strength. And he's still, by the way, that is, you'll recognize that picture of Trump as the one that they always use on Newsmax and everything.
He reminded the despot about America.
He's a despot. Okay, at least you admit he's a despot.
Nuclear superiority. He squeezed North Korea's only real ally, China, with tariffs. He deployed the strategy. It's called peace through strength.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
And all while America's left told you the sky was falling. He's going to start a nuclear holocaust. Little rocket man, fire and fury. My button's bigger than yours. This is how the media reacted.
The idea of a nuclear showdown with North Korea.
We saw, hold on. I want to see him, I want to see Hannity's take on this. We've been back and forth because that's exactly where he was leading. Yeah, playing with fire.
Per usual, and he challenged Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yeah, that was different.
Completely wrong again and again. And as you might have noticed, there's no nuclear holocaust. In fact, quite the opposite.
No, Kim Jong-un continued to build nuclear weapons, continued to expand his program. He just did it under the table.
See, North Korea completely stopping firing ballistic missiles over Japan.
Yeah, because the last one they did collapsed and didn't work, so they went back to the drawing board.
Threatening the region, threatening Guam, threatening the continental United States. They returned the remains of U.S. servicemen, brave heroes who died in battle during the Korean War.
Thanks. Corpses. Yes, we wanted them back, but please.
Agreed to negotiate the denuclearization of the entire Korean peninsula.
Yeah, South Korea, you go first. As long as they demilitarize, then we'll totally get rid of our nukes. Right.
Oh, and hostages were returned. A huge deal, and it's...
After they were beaten into basically a coma, walking coma.
Not just about North Korea. Now China is being held accountable for its rampant intellectual property theft. And because of the real...
Yes. I think Ivanka was suing them in court.
Serious threat of ongoing tariffs. Well, guess what? New, better trade deals that help Americans.
Yeah. By the way, I know you're thinking, yeah, we watched this play out. It didn't quite turn out that way.
Help farmers, that help manufacturers, that help...
Totally.
Our car industry are now on the table.
Yes. Of course, that table has to be sanitized because, well, there was something else on the way as well.
Despite all this success, of course, the hate Trump media mob and Democrats publicly rooting for the president to fail.
Yeah. And Sean Hannity would never do that.
In his upcoming negotiations with Kim Jong-un.
Weird.
We have 8 U.S. senators, this is a joke, releasing an open letter to the president, bashing him for his diplomatic efforts, insinuating our president is a liar. Well, let's look at the hate Trump media mob's obsession.
We fell in love. Trump and Kim shower praise. Stroke egos on path to nuclear negotiations.
With a months-old statement from the president, that he and Kim fell in love during their first encounter. Okay, let me translate this for anyone in the media who's too stupid to figure it out on their own, who never left the comforts of their little TV studios that are way overpaid.
Okay.
The president...
By the way, my little TV studio is very comfortable. It's my aunt and uncle's junk room, essentially. It's just a side room off the garage that they have that I'm taking over to do this. But I have left it. I went swimming this afternoon.
Developed a beneficial working relationship with someone we're trying to negotiate with.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, come on, guys. Get off his back. Be realistic.
By the way, if we can stop North Korea from threatening the entire region, that would be a good thing.
Oh, weird. If we could stop Saudi Arabia from partnering with Iranian terrorists or bombing Yemen, for example, or we could get them to play nice with those within their own country in terms of human rights, that would be a good thing. Right, Sean?
That's when nuclear annihilation is just a button away if we don't fix it. So let's face it. Here's the sad reality. We have the left in this country, Democrats, mainstream media. They don't...
Look at that. Shaking hands. I mean, Kim can barely get his hand back.
Obviously want the president to succeed, not just on this issue.
Yeah.
Even when the safety and security of the American people is on the line. This is...
Tell me all about it, Sean. Music to my ears, Bo.
Their psychotic hatred of this president is more important to them
than pointing out the fact that Kim Jong-un, while they were standing there, had thousands of his own people starving to death on purpose.
And the well-being of South Koreans, the entire region, and Americans. Now, if that wasn't the case, remember, they would fund the wall on the southern border like they were willing to do in Obama's second term. But if Trump's doing it, it's immoral. If that wasn't the case, they
were repairing sections of wall. The part that Trump brags about creating was largely stuff that was funded under the Obama administration to repair the barrier that already existed.
Could not have tried to ruin Judge Kavanaugh's life.
Talk about partnering with scumbags.
Smear, slander, besmirchment during their botched attempt to block his nomination. That wasn't the case. They would not have voted against the Born Alive bill, which would have protected living infants who survived.
Living what's? Sorry, I didn't.
Born Alive bill, which would have protected living infants.
Living infants. I've never. I mean, insofar as I'm concerned, all infants are they're all alive. They will always be alive. All infants. I'm surrounded by ghosts of infants everywhere I turn.
Who survived a botched abortion. Really? Pretty heartless. And all the Democratic presidential candidates in the Senate voted against this bill.
Hannity Watch. 2020 radical candidates. Notice Biden's not in that one. They were not counting on him at the time.
All of them. Now that brings us to tonight's Hannity history lesson.
Oh, finally.
While the left is actively rooting against President Trump because...
Oh, you mean like you will on Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia now in the Middle East across the board?
That then gets in the way of their desire for power. Well, their own track record in foreign policy has been an absolute disgrace. Frankly, an utter failure. Their failed strategy can be summed up with two words: international bribery. If only we suck up to dictators and pay them money, maybe they'll like us.
Dude, that's the Abraham Accords. We gave them $50 billion in military aid.
1994, then President Bill Clinton bragging about giving North Korea the world in exchange for just a promise not to build a nuke. Didn't last long. Take a look.
This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons. South Korea, with support from Japan and other nations, will bear most of the cost of providing North Korea with fuel to make up for the nuclear energy it is losing. And they will pay for an alternative power system for North Korea that will allow them to produce electricity while making it much harder for them.
This is, by the way, if this sounds familiar, this is very much like the plan to denuclearize Iran, which was working.
To produce nuclear weapons.
Also, Putin fucks goats. I don't know who anybody in the chat needs to hear that. Just saying, for real. I'm not making that. I don't mean that pejoratively. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but I think that's rude to the goats. But he does. He's a goat fucker. Just so.
The United States and international inspectors will carefully monitor North Korea to make sure it keeps its commitments. Only as it does so will North Korea fully join the community of nations.
What?
Again, how is that the promise, like gave him the world for just a promise? I mean, that sounds like normal, healthy, moderating diplomacy.
It wasn't a good deal for the American people because North Korea took the money and ran, and today, yeah, they have a nuclear weapons arsenal. President Trump is now...
Which they built up under the Bush administration.
Stuck cleaning up his mess. And sadly, Obama didn't learn from Clinton's abject foreign policy failures. Remember in 2015, then President Obama tried to bribe the world's leading sponsor of terrorism.
It worked. They stopped.
With $150 billion.
It was their money. He didn't bribe them with $150 billion. Also, in international terms, chicken shit money. We were paying them interest. The U.S. was paying Iran interest on that $150 billion that was frozen.
$1 in cash and other currency that they dumped on a tarmac in Iran for the mullahs of Iran that say death to America and death to Israel. And
it's their money.
Our flags. What do we get in return? We got a promise again.
No, when we got inspectors in, we got scans of their facility.
They wouldn't develop nuclear weapons for a few years. President Obama called it an unprecedented achievement.
And it worked.
In stupidity, but Iran used that money, what? We now know to fund terrorism all over the Middle East as proxies of wars all over the place, killing so many innocent humans in the process, killing innocent civilians around the world.
Yes, that money, they didn't eat that money and then use other money that they had to pay for those terrorists. They just took that money and immediately went right out the door, even though they were starving. They didn't have medical aid for a lot of their citizens. They had a lot of other uses for that money. But that money, it was those dollars. It was literally just taken from the tarmac, driven in a truck, and hand-delivered to terrorists.
Iran still publicly plotting the annihilation of Israel, still burning the U.S. flag, still chanting death to America, death to Israel. And Obama's flawed nuclear deal, thankfully, because of President Trump, is now totally obsolete. If we
And while he's meeting with Kim Jong-un.
don't learn from the past, yes,
if we don't learn from the past. Clinton set up the deal with North Korea. It was working. The development of the nuclear weapons in North Korea happened during the Bush administration when they didn't want that deal anymore, when they just blew it off, when the initial follow-up didn't happen, when we didn't continue relationships with them, and Dick Cheney had no interest. Plus 9/11 happened, and it turned the entire tide of the world in one direction.
Doomed to repeat.
They were too busy trying to start a war in Afghanistan instead of having surgical strikes around the camps that were involved in it, which, was John Kerry's point, was that this was a law and order problem, not an international terrorism problem, ultimately. And if we'd have handled that way, we wouldn't have been in 2 wars for 20 years.
Just like Reagan, peace through strength, we can learn from success as well.
That happened during Reagan, too.
And that's why the president will...
Reagan met with... he literally... The Russians who had been killing people, like the Soviets had been killing people and doing all this horrible shit for years. They literally had nukes pointed at us, and Ronald Reagan in one of the meetings famously said, "Let's start over. My name's Ron." That's exactly what they called for.
Open up the spigot of economic opportunity in North Korea.
Which is exactly what Clinton did. And by the way, almost the same effect. Years later, Trump would try the same shit, only more ham-handed and egregious and weird, and have the same amount of success, meaning none.
If Kim Jong-un agrees to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which opens up his country to regular, unabated checks on his nuclear program.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
And he'll help his people out in the meantime.
Yeah, totally. That worked out.
And he also has to agree to phase out and dismantle all of his nuclear weapons.
Yeah, just like Iran, just like North Korea in the 90s.
Accountability, verification, or no deal. Now, as a country that is learning from our past failures is critically important, not just abroad, but right here in America, in the United States.
Is that where we are? I see.
Our country. In 2010, when former President Obama and his fellow Democrats rammed Obamacare down your throat.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the weird kind of fellatio fixation they had about Obama's penis.
Remember, they made a lot of promises again and again. Keep your doctor, keep your plan, and save.
Well, the only time you'd lose your plan or your doctor is when your doctor was on a plan that was substandard and wouldn't even pay for the ambulance that would get you there, so that ultimately the costs of your healthcare plan would cost you your house. That was the whole point.
Save less and lower drug prices.
By the way, you don't have to join the ACA. If you had your own, if you stayed on whatever your secondary plan was and you didn't join the ACA, you still had that plan. It still existed. It just wouldn't be the ACA. You wouldn't get the ACA subsidy.
Well, a lot of people lost their doctors, lost their plans,
Thanks,
and
Eddie.
everybody's paying more. All Americans will be insured. Didn't happen.
That wasn't the word either. There was not all Americans will be insured. They added 24 million. They will cover as many as they possibly could. Medicare expansion was one of the ways that they were going to cover a bunch of those people, and Republican governors in particular and Republican senators put a stop to that. There's still a bunch of states that refuse to do it.
Healthcare costs have skyrocketed. Some Americans only have one plan. 27 million.
Most Americans only have one plan. Why would you have 2 plans?
Americans.
Oh, you mean per state? Because the states won't open up to those? Jesus
today
Christ.
Still remain uninsured.
The socialists are coming.
Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, nearly every other.
Hey, Al, came to give you a thumbs up. Thank you. Going back to Twitch now. Oh, thanks, Sylvia, for jumping over from sites. I appreciate that.
Radical Democrat is pushing Obamacare.
Okay, again, this is this asshole talk. Get to the point where you're talking about Kim Jong-un, stupid. Yeah, you hate them. I get it. Blah, blah, blah. Apocalypse Now. 2020 extremism. 2020 White House to veto Democrat bill criminalizing private gun sale. What? Criminalizing private guns. Oh, you mean straw purchases. 2020 voted against anti-infanticide bill because the press will let them get away with it. That's the phrase. 2020 Democrats voted against an anti-infanticide bill because the president... Anything for power. These are people, I guess, cross... Oh, look who it is. It's...
Poverty and destruction for all. Well,
that's, I guess this is supposed to be the... one of the caravans.
A lot more coming up in the course of the show. But first, let's preview what is about to go down tomorrow in our nation's swamp.
Yeah, it's Michael Cohen.
So while the president...
That was when he was still on Trump's side.
...is here in Vietnam, the president's former attorney, Michael Cohen, is going to testify in public. 3 days in a row. 1, 2, 3. Okay?
Well, I mean... Are you saying we shouldn't have the January 6th committee hearings while Biden's overseas because it would draw attention?
Tomorrow's the only public one before the House Oversight.
Oh, this was when he turned. This was part of the panic.
Committee. He's going to be grilled by some of the worst Trump haters like
oh my God,
Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, and others. Now, keep in mind, among other issues.
Yeah, Trump hires assholes. Also, I think this is before we found out that Sean Hannity was client number 3, right? Was it client number 3? Oh, I got it. Now I got to look it up. Hold on. Been a bit. And then I'm going to get off, I promise. I've got, well, off the show. Hi there. Let's see. Hannity was Michael. Whoops. Cohen client. Yeah, here you go. Just for the record.
Michael Cohen did plead guilty. Lying to Congress. Wasn't long ago that prominent Democrats hated Michael Cohen, called him out repeatedly for being a liar. Now they're his best friend. Take a look.
Oh, I'm taking a look, Sean. Trust me. Let's see. Is this... whoops. Oh, God, that's terrible. Where were we? We go back over here? Yeah.
Tammy.
Hold on.
As far as Michael Cohen's credibility, Rudy Giuliani described him as a proven liar.
I think that Michael Cohen, Rudy Giuliani, and Donald Trump have about the same amount of credibility. They all use, at best, situational ethics, and but probably more likely they just lie constantly.
So now Michael Cohen is the Democrats' new best friend forever. Sadly, he's going to report to prison in May to serve a multi-year sentence. And you know what? He and his family have been through an awful lot.
Yeah, they have. They've been through a lot. First of all, at some point, you were coming over to the house all the time. I mean, haven't these people suffered enough? This is, I mean, I feel like reporting this to the UN. I think just hanging out with Sean Hannity is cruel and unusual punishment. Look, there he is. Hold on.
Hi, we're friends, but I know you. This is not comfortable for you.
Hold on. Back up.
I did have occasional brief conversations with Michael Cohen. He's a great attorney about legal questions I had.
Yeah, just legal questions. He had some questions, and he's like, you know, Yelp. Do I Yelp an attorney? I mean, I've got millions of dollars. I make $90 million a year. Maybe I could ask around the club. Maybe somebody could, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to reach out to a guy who is always on the up and up and is one of the smartest guys I know, who always does the right thing and knows how to make the best of a bad situation. Donald Trump. And he's got a bunch of people around him.
You're a private guy. We're friends, but I know you. This is not comfortable for you.
You'll be the first one to know, Sean. You and, of course, all your viewers.
I'd hire you as my lawyer. You'd keep me in.
Well, I try.
He did. They did. That was his lawyer. For a bunch of sketchy shit. In the days after FBI raided Cohen's office, here's what Hannity had to say. Sheep lie.
Mueller's witch hunt investigation is now a runaway train that is clearly careening off the tracks.
He suggests the raid was an overreach. Right. They're careening
the raid on Michael Cohen's hotel room his home and his office
Dershowitz
was a violation.
This is, by the way, I think pre-Epstein death.
Of his constitutional rights. Mueller has now basically backdoored his way into every single Trump business deal, at least since Michael Cohen has worked with Donald Trump. This is now officially an all-hands-on-deck effort to totally malign and, if possible, impeach the President of the United States.
Yeah, except that wasn't the point of concern, was it, Sean? Bit of a problem.
Sean, I do want to say that I really think that you should have disclosed your relationship with Cohen when you talked about him on.
Yeah, when I was on your show, because people already think I'm a sketchy bastard, and now what? They think I was there helping you.
The show. But
it was minimal. I put out a statement.
It was minimal. I never even saw this chick before, okay? It was a backdoor kind of an issue, you know. A little bit of money changed hands, and I didn't...
You should have said that, and that would have been fair.
Uh-huh. And that would have been fair.
That it was minimal. Look, you were in a tough position.
Yeah, he was in a tough position. Sean Hannity and Michael Cohen's undisclosed relationship. That's a sweet way of putting it. Meanwhile...
What if you were a major...
What if? I'm out of time. Can I end the show tonight with a couple of news pieces, if I may? Because this kind of relates to what we were talking about as far as MTG. You're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide, by the way. I go through these clips that people post, you know, in reference. The last two clips I was showing pieces of were composites of other stuff, but posted by the news and not refuted by any of the people involved, I think. But to basically point out what was in a clip from Sean Hannity's show. I can speak, sure. Why not? I mean, I don't. So, rented tongue. That was referencing something that Sean Hannity had posted on his show. Now, but this also relates to stuff he said in that, stuff that MTG said in her clip, stuff that Dinesh said in the clip that I used from him, and quite frankly, almost anybody said in the whoever was speaking through Mike Lindell, whatever demon is going through him, I suppose, making him say the words that he's saying. But I would like to say in the process, I'd like to show you a couple of things that are driving them crazy right now. And it's partly why you're seeing the sort of outlandish news stories that you're seeing, especially around inflation and gas prices currently. This is one of the weirdest things about the current inflation. Because while we have had 9% inflation in the last month, we've had a 5% rise in wages overall, and those consumer prices were already muted to start with last year. So the rise, while it's year over year is big, it's also based on a dip around Delta, which makes it look artificially higher than it is. Now, gas prices have been coming down, but a lot of people who believe in the money printing story have been freaking out on this idea, like the Democrats came in, they just printed a bunch of money. Never mind the fact that only one of the bills we're talking about passed during Biden's administration, the rescue package. All the rest of it was done under Trump, and he signed it. He was like, I asked for $2 billion, they gave me $8 billion, but I'll take it. You know, remember that? Well, and the same thing is true of all the bailout stuff that was instituted. He signed all of it. All of it. That was under Trump. If there was some sort of fiscal bone in his body that was supposed to be magical and save us from this money printing extravaganza, it never happened. As a matter of fact, all he cared about was flooding the stock market with money so that it could keep pumping it up, even though a year before COVID hit, the story around Washington was, we're due for a correction. We're looking at a recession. It'll be short. It'll be shallow more than likely, but it's going to happen because everything in the stock market is overvalued. Everybody's paying stock prices that are not reflective of the value of the company or the dividends that are paid out. Like, if you'll recall, all the people who are clamoring about the drop in the stock market, every single one of them was talking about a correction on the horizon, and the only thing that made it not visible, that correction, was that it was completely wiped out or buried underneath COVID when it happened, okay? So this was one of the stories, and this has been a weird story over the last couple of days, that if you look at the financial markets, the weird story is that there's fear in the markets, but it's not reflected in anyone's behavior, which is super odd even to say. But this is one of the things about inflation that is boggling everyone's mind, because they think it's not based on supply shock and CPI around gas. Is that retail sales jumped because people were buying locally and going back to stores, and while they were there, because gas is a higher cost, I suppose, they were buying more stuff. I'm going to make a trip, I'm going to make it count. So they, both at the grocery and at regular stores, they were buying more stuff. So this part of the Biden boom, you would call it, I would say, this story stood out to me. Consumers continued to spend in April, with retail sales jumping 0.9% for the prior month, according to government data released on Tuesday. Why it matters. Shoppers aren't pulling back on spending, even as prices soar in the fastest pace in 40 years. This is a good sign for the American economy amid fears of a coming recession as inflation rages. Retail sales rose 8.2% from a year ago, a period when inflation jumped by 8.3%. Stripping out spending on gasoline, retail sales were even stronger, rising 1.3% from the prior month. This has been continuous. Okay, now, this is when was this published? June 9th. Okay, more pay raises are on the way for many workers this year. This is ongoing. Whatever. This has to do, and remember, wages went up 5.1% last month. Microsoft recently announced it will be doubling its global merit budget and isn't alone in companies planning to pay employees even more. Inflation is continuing to run at a 4-decade high, and in addition to the intense competition for new hires, firms are struggling to retain existing workers in key areas. Compensation consultant Perlmeyer's new survey of corporate leadership indicates that even after the largest average annual salary increase in decades, 4.8%, up to 1/3 of companies were feeling the pressure to pay more at the mid-year mark. Look at all these people dancing. Like this is some. I mean, if you're going for some stock images, this is basically it. Amid record inflation in a labor market with 2 open positions for every worker, the average annual salary increase reached 4.8%. Again, that's why people aren't feeling this inflation jump the way people expect. And the people who are people who aren't seeing these kind of wage increases. And that's usually areas that are still affected by COVID or supply shock. All right, next. Natural gas is gaining ground and the U.S. has plenty of it. As Europe struggles to reduce its dependence on Russian oil energy exports, gas may be the fuel of the moment. Natural gas still trails oil and coal in the amount of energy generated worldwide, but it's been gaining on both. As Europe struggles to break from its dependence on Russian gas after the invasion of Ukraine, gas has become the most geopolitically important fuel of the moment. Thus puts the world's biggest natural gas producer, the U.S., in an interesting position. Gas production here has risen about 80% since 2006 as hydraulic fracturing, aka fracking, has enabled drillers in Pennsylvania, Texas, and elsewhere to extract vast quantities of gas and oil from shale deposits. At first, almost all the increased supply went to electricity generation, with gas supplanting coal in 2016 as the country's top power source. But that year also saw the completion of the first several facilities, most along the Gulf Coast, that liquefy natural gas and pump it into waiting ships for export. Now about 16% of production is going abroad, most by LNG tanker, and so far this year the U.S. has been neck and neck with Qatar for the title of world's top LNG exporter. Now, we outpaced them week over week. We're jockeying with Qatar. Natural gas production in 2021. There you go. Just throwing that out there. For anybody who's like, Biden has crashed the American energy market, or we're not energy independent. We are a net exporter. We produce way more than we use. Look at the output. Larger, and by the way, if you'll notice, the Qatar amount over here versus ours is almost a direct, a reflection of of the export point. So what this over the Russia number, that's about the same as the entire Qatar line. It's actually more, but point being is that this amount, like they use about a slice of this, and then we make a bunch of this and we export it to, you know, overseas. We LNG it. The LNG exports are close to Qatar. We have pipelines going to Canada and Mexico where we sell the actual natural gas that is not liquefied. So, all right. Again, this is 2021, and the U.S. is by far the biggest producer of natural gas. Not even close. You're not going to see this chart on Fox News ever. Now, and this is because this is a 2021 number. If this was during Trump, and we were close to this number, you know, if it was an inch over this one, you know, or it is an inch by that measure, but if it was like a slice past 67.9, they'd be like, well, America winning with a capital W. Now, this is the other story. Dip in gasoline use stokes debate over demand destruction. Surge in pump prices is starting to make a dent in our appetite for fuel. This is a predictor article. So this is saying that not only is the price of oil by the barrel coming down, but the American consumer has started curtailing their use of gas because the price has gone up to a point we don't like, and it's having a genuine effect. Now, gasoline barrels supplied per day. This is U.S. 4-week rolling average, and if you look at there's 2020, which I think is this one, yeah, and then there's 2021. Look at 2022 as the price went up. The amount provided is higher, but the sales point, and remember when Trump was like, we got it to $1.87 a gallon. That's because he's talking about this right here. When no one was going anywhere. Meanwhile, because nobody was using the product, so it got really friggin' cheap. And, you know, and still never really recovered during that time. It recovered back in here in 2021, and then they started, they flooded the tank. And then we ended up with this. And look at this dip right here. That's 2022. The other thing, too, is that this is making a genuine change in the idea of hybrids, electric cars, and better fuel efficiency in a vehicle. People who normally wouldn't make those kind of decisions are now making them. Okay, there we go. Now let's look at this real quick. This was one of the weirder parts. Stocks rally as odds of Fed going bigger come down, markets wrap. Fed heads towards 75 basis points hike as official wary of more. Look at this one. Look at this right here. U.S. long-term inflation outlook falls to lowest level in a year. Yeah, I agree, Dragon. Using the similar colors is stupid. They were basically saying the past and now. This year is the important part. What happened in red is the big strategic one. But U.S. long-term inflation outlook falls to lowest level in a year. This is that deflationary pressure I was talking about. As soon as the bottom falls out of fuel for any reason, everything else gets super cheap and all the bottlenecks of stuff starts flowing travel-wise again, and it cuts the price on stuff. Companies are already over-inventoried out the ass. Hold on. U.S. retail inventories. Yeah. Hold on. This is older, but we'll see it. Story is gonna. Where's the? I said 11 hours ago. Thank you so much for the Venmo, Emily. This is my first RD and final one for the night. I adore you, this chat, and all you guys. Thank you. Make my life better. Well, I'm glad to do it. I'll end on this one. Hold on. This is probably the one that confuses the living fertilizer out of a lot of these different crowds. This is the part that's confusing the Kudlows of the world. And I want to leave you with this. Remember, inflation is ridiculous. The average American is reeling from inflation. It's a tax on their existence, and they don't understand it, and they're mad at the world, and it's the most important thing, and they're pissed about it, and they're going to take it out on Democrats this fall, and it's stuck there, and there's no change coming on the horizon, and yet angst over U.S. inventory pileups is belied by still solid sales. People are still buying a lot of stuff, and yet there's too much inventory. There's going to be so many huge sales this fall. Like Black Friday is going to be ridiculous this year because they're going to have too much stuff. General store stock sales ratio at odds with other retailers. Factories finished durable goods inventory lowest since 2013. They're shipping it out. They can't get it out the door fast enough, and it's piling up on shelves. The story you are being sold around the cause of inflation and therefore the solution that will solve it, that it's money printing and not supply shock and oil and gas prices, is causing some people to pretend whether they know better or not. To pretend if they know better and confuse if they don't. They're basically, it's forcing them to come up with the wrong solution. You can be right about the problem and wrong about the cause and therefore the solution. PHK says Biden's also incredibly knowledgeable on foreign affairs. No shit, the guy's a genius on that. Biden's a very intelligent man. He's just humble to people to try and paint him as an average intellect. I mean, I think he wants to be likable and not be a jerk. And it's so in contrast to what Trump was like with this just blather that people think it's weakness to not to pretend to be strong. It's just ridiculous. But I just want to leave you that in your head as you see news over the next little bit about, because oil prices are going to continue to come down. Retail prices and backed up inventory is going to be causing a bunch of sales. You're going to see a bunch of sales over the weekends from retailers trying to get rid of stuff. Prime Day was huge this year. Prime Day is a new Black Friday in the middle of the year. That's what Amazon decided to do, was move their Black Friday up to the middle of the year. And that's going to continue through the fall. And watch the sweating that starts coming from Republicans when the inflation storyline starts to drop, and as we go into the election cycle, the increasing stories about the 10-year-old in Ohio here who was raped and had to get an abortion, and women, not going into the emergency room with a miscarriage and not being treated, and those horror stories about that stuff we haven't heard or dealt with since the friggin' 60s. Starts happening again, and that starts driving people to the polls. And the TYT and the Jimmy Dore crowd, and also, by the way, Ukraine, basically eliminating every ammo depot and control base that the Russians have in the Donbass over the next month and a half. Those things combined are going to capsize all the talking points you've been hearing for the last few weeks as they get the cart before the horse and try to sell this narrative as a way to buy their way into the election. And it's not going to work. I'm telling you. I am telling you. The only thing we have to deal with in these situations, the only problem we really have, quite frankly, is our own voters not showing up simply out of laziness. And I'm hoping that the recognition of the reality, the difficulty that the stuff we are dealing with in terms of just people's rights, their right to vote, the gerrymandering, controlling the electoral college for 2024, women's rights, gay rights, just your general freedoms about that stuff, beyond the fact that we're still trying to improve on the ACA, eventually get a single payer system into it, start growing that. Again, multi-state single payers, I think, are the way. That's my personal belief. But a federal system, that is backed up by, that allows for states to have their own that you could compete with would be fantastic. Best of both worlds in a lot of ways. So, yeah. Anyways, you guys are wonderful. I thank you for sticking around. I know I went late. I'll see you guys on the radio tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I will see you soon. I don't think my song works right now because I just got is it working at all? Nope. I'll just leave it there. There's other issues with the. I've got to use. If this works. Nope. I know. I know. Hold on. I can do it this way. 1 second. Give me a second. Because I feel like it's needed. Hold on. There we go. Get over here. There you go. Not bad. A little quiet, but we'll get it. All right. Take care of yourselves, folks, and I will see you tomorrow on the radio. We'll be joined by Philip Ittner, and God willing, my setup will work. Oh, boy.